Cheers, Mark.
Cheers, brother.
I never did the lime with the Dos Equis.
It's refreshing.
It really is refreshing.
And it goes really well with food, I'll be honest with you. It's probably my go-to beer for wings.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I never...
Like drink a couple of these and then have a wing, and it just kind of ups the flavor. And then you can eat a lot more because beer coats your stomach. You ever wonder why, like, you can... Now, I don't know if that's scientific or not, but you coat your stomach so that you can keep drinking. You know, like, you ever drink water and you just feel full?
Yeah.
But you never get full with beer. You can drink a whole 6-pack or a whole 12-pack, and you just keep going.
Do you think it's the getting drunk part that does that, though? The inhibition to, reserve your appetite?
I'm sure that's part of it, too. Like
that's what I always thought it was. Like, you're just drunk, so you just want to... And I think it messes with your insulin. It makes you want to eat.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Well, so I mean that maybe it's not a coating, but maybe it's just like the chemical breakdown that just causes you to keep.
Something's going on. When you drink alcohol, you want to eat.
Infinite. I can drink infinitely when it's beer. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't drink much beer anymore. I mean, I never really did. You know that, but I don't know. It's so filling to me personally, and you just get that stomach that it's impossible to get rid of the stomach if you're drinking beer regularly.
So I got hurt when I was snowboarding last year, and snowboarding was a thing that I never did before, but I always correlated it to like snowboarding should be the same as skateboarding, and I've skateboarded since I was 10 years old, but it wasn't the thing at all. I ate shit harder than I've ever eaten shit before in my entire career of any form of extreme sports. I just didn't know how to stop. I thought I did. I thought I had it on the bunny hill, and then I went down a big hill. I was going like easily 45 miles an hour. It kind of reminded me of the time that you, Jake, and all of them decided to go down that hill before checking out the bottom.
Yeah.
And you guys were flying down that hill, and, you know, I was Jake in that situation where I just tucked my shoulders and I said, screw it. But then I got scared when I got really fast. When I started seeing snow flying by me so quickly that I couldn't really tell if it was snow or if it was just blur of my vision. I tried to, turn sideways. I had it going there and started bouncing, and then kind of leaned forward, caught the edge, and I just tumbled. Wish I got it on camera, but yeah. So the funny thing is I really didn't get hurt there. After that fall, I got off the board, started walking down the hill, and I hit a pocket where somebody stepped and twisted my knee. That was how I got hurt.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I didn't get hurt at all.
Where is this at?
What is it? Galena,
Okay.
Chestnut Hill.
Okay.
Beautiful. It's a 3-hour drive, and you overlook the Mississippi skiing. It's probably the prettiest you can get in Illinois besides Southern.
Southern, yeah.
Yeah, Southern
Gardens
is
of the
really
Gods.
beautiful.
Have you ever been there?
Or Jackson Falls, if you've ever gone hiking there. It's
Southern
fucking
Illinois is
gorgeous.
a very different geography.
It shouldn't even be called Illinois. It's like Upper Peninsula, Michigan.
It's a
Should be
bigger state than
Wisconsin.
people give it credit for. Like from the northern tip to the southern tip, it's got to be 6.5 hours.
Oh, for sure. But you know what's even funnier is like when you go down to Southern Illinois, you're literally, not only is it different looking, but it's a different culture of people.
Oh, yeah. It's the South. It's the South.
But if you go, like in Chicago, you're like, super left wing, and then you go out there and it's super right wing, but we're all in the same, the same neck of the woods.
Well, it just goes to show that the whole country's like that. I mean, you go to any major city, it's one way.
Especially nowadays. I mean, it really kind of, it's really kind of like really lost its...
It's divisive.
For sure.
It's tricky. I know so many different types of people as you do. And where we grew up, I mean, we grew up a mile and a half from each other. Bridgeview, Hickory Hills, right down 87th Street. Same school districts, pretty much at post junior high. You went to Wilkins, I did too, Argo, which is where we met. So we've known each other about 15 years.
Yeah,
I think 2006 is when I started really knowing you.
No, yeah, so it's a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so it was my sophomore year. I remember it was probably because of Amanda, Medina, that we kind of started talking, because I was talking to her, and then she was sitting at your lunch table, and I came over to talk to her, and then met the famous Taco. And that name kind of, it's still in my phone as Taco.
That name will haunt me forever. That's a funny one, because you are one of the few people that I'm still still know really well that met me that way.
Yeah. From high school?
Yeah, from 15, 16 years old. That's when people didn't even know my real name. They didn't know my name was Ben.
Yeah, that's true.
They just called me Taco.
I remember you working with, what was his name? I went to school with him forever.
Subway?
Subway.
John Goodwin?
John Goodwin. Yeah. He was a very interesting fellow.
He is. He is. He inspired me. I learned a lot from him at Subway. Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy those people that you grew up with who, you know, they just come into your mind randomly, and somehow, like, I feel like in a couple of days I'm going to run into John Goodwin. There was a altercation at the skate park where I was just recently at. It was Oak Lawn Skate Park, and this guy, Peter Orestes, I hadn't thought about that guy in years. He was like a elementary friend, and like 2 days before I actually went to the skate park, I was thinking, man, what happened to that guy? And then, you know, I'm at the skate park and we're skating around. This guy is just kind of flopping around on the ramps, not using a board. He's on his feet. He's mumbling to himself. He's in the clothes of like somebody that just got out of the hospital. Mm-hmm. You know, I call it the dead man clothes, but it's just whatever the hospital has recycled. 9 times out of 10, if you came in with clothes that were cut off of you or something like that, you're given these clothes. Sometimes it's like paper pants and a shirt. Sometimes it's like dress pants and some shirt that doesn't match at all and some random pair of shoes. So I noticed him and I was like, this guy's face, man, I don't know where it's from, but I know this face. And so we're skating around and he comes up to us, and this guy, Tony, he seemed to just love Tony. He came up to Tony. He's like, I know you. And Tony's like, I've never met you in my life. And he probably hasn't. But this guy, he was just dead set on Tony. And I was laying back on my board and Tony goes, well, what's your name? And he goes, well, I don't know my God's name, but the cops call me Peter. And I'm like, then it just clicked. I was like, is it Peter Orestes? And he's like, why, do you know me? And I was like, man, I used to hang out with you. And it was just like so bizarre, you know, like polar opposite people. I mean, I don't know what was going on with his life or whatever at that moment, but it was just so, it really shook me to my foundation on how small this universe is. It's like, I think it's called like psychic magnetism. I think it was said in a Stephen King's book where the character would think about something, but he would just have to focus on it for a minute, and his inner whatever it is would bring him to that topic. Like he would just stop what he was doing and focus, and it would bring him there. And I feel like that was a complete psychic magnetism on that case. You know, like the universe was trying to tell me how that guy was doing. So, you know, hung out with him a little bit, gave him a couple beers, you know, gave him water, you know, and just kind of sent him on his way. I didn't have any cash on me at the time to kind of do anything for him on that point. You know, we're all hurting for cash in this point of world, but yeah, it was just strange, you know. So
you said there was an altercation, or was that?
Well, he was on the point of like aggressive, but not aggressive. I want to say that he may have or may or not have been on something like that, but I'm not trying to throw the man's name in the dirt. He just might be going through some kind of, you know, something, you know.
Yeah.
You know, in this world, mental health is a joke, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, especially for men, you know, it's man up and stick with it.
Yeah.
And their idea of fixing it is stick them in an ER room for 3 days and somehow they're fixed because, of course, Medicaid and Medicare don't kick in, you know, and so 3 days is good enough and you send them out on their way. So who knows what was going on with him at the time, but, you know.
For those listening, if they can't tell when you talk about medical stuff, your timbre changes because you know a lot about it, because for those listening, they don't know that you've had a lot of medical professional experience.
I would say
across a lot of different jobs.
I would say I had about 11 years from start till when I said I can't do it anymore. I would say it was a solid 11 years from when I started EMT school to when I ended as a personal assistant for someone who is paralyzed.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see you, besides COVID, I would see you, I mean, all the random times, but back in the day, a couple times a week, all the way up to like once every couple months. And every time I see you, you have some of the craziest stories. You have a new crazy job of something like, who has that job? Like, you have that job. Someone's got to have that job, and it's Mark. And they've always been so intense and captivating. You're the only person I know that like has been thrown into like the dark places of where humans have to help others or do the dirty job, the hard job, the job that I'm like, no, I can't do that. And you do it. But 11 years, I mean, I commend anybody who can do it. 1 year, 30 years, it's insane. Like the medical professional field, from working in a hospital or working personally for somebody or working at a university doing medical work, it's insane. It's intense. It's mentally and emotionally and physically exhausting beyond most jobs ever could be, especially the types of things you see and the things you hear. So like what made you want to get into that? I mean, I know you had an interesting life before that. It probably put you onto that path, being a caretaker of wanting to help people or be there for people.
Well, it's funny. At the time that I decided to get into emergency medicine, it was kind of a moment where for lack of a better words, I was chasing my tail. I had no idea what I wanted to do, just kind of floating there, and I just kind of fell upon it. I always thought firefighting was such a cool idea. And so I started off as what is it called? A Medicar driver. So I would pick up people to go to their like doctor's appointments, or people at nursing homes that have to go to their doctor's appointments. They don't just, the doctor doesn't come to them like the old days. You have to go to the doctor. So
how old were you? Would you say?
What was I? I was
20, 19?
No, I think I was 17.
17, okay.
Yeah, I want to say 17. I'd have to look back. Just off the top of my head, I think I was 17. So I was driving these old and, psych patients and stuff like that to their doctor's appointments. Or if a psych patient had to go home, I was taking them home. And I did that while I was going through EMT school. And it kind of got me. So what was cool about the Medicar driving was it got me good with working with sick people. I mean, I started learning how to talk to people without any of the other nonsense involved, like helping them. These were just healthy or not healthy individuals, but they weren't like in a critical situation. It was just me and them in a car taking them places. I mean, I could have just drove silently, but you start to work with these people, and some people are not as receptive to your like your banter than others. Others really enjoy it. Others are kind of thrown off by it. And so with that, I started getting kind of like a rapport of reading different people. And so then when I got into EMT, it really helped out a lot, because then the patient aspect, so I wasn't nervous to walk, like when you get into EMT school, you're taught to like just jump into the situation and talk to somebody. Somebody you've never met before in your life is in this emergency thing, and they got to trust you to take care of them. How do you make somebody trust you in the first 5 minutes of you meeting them? I mean, it's kind of it's hard to do.
Yeah.
So you have to find that bridge, and so driving people around like that really gave me that skill that I carried on through my years, and I just kept strengthening it by different, I guess, problems that I ran into. It's like going to the gym or something like that. It just every step of the way I kept getting stronger at it. So my people skills were really great, and they still are. I mean, that's one of my solid driving points of in my entire career is I can read a crowd pretty well. I can read a person pretty well. I mean, granted, I'm not Sherlock Holmes. I don't go by the power of deduction, but I can, I'm usually good at picking out of the crowd.
I'd say so. A good people person for sure. I mean, I've known you long enough, half our lives. So.
I was the DZ doorman for many years, and I seem to handle that pretty well.
Yeah, you are a DZ legend. I would say you probably been the doorman at 60 shows, events, all the DZ fests.
Besides the last one, I decided to be a patron to the last one.
Yeah,
I didn't help out one bit, and I just wanted to just take DZ Fest from the other side.
Yeah.
Because for so many years, and I know you don't get that chance because you are the controller of DZ, but I just wanted to come from another point of view, like just really just enjoy the integrity of DZ Fest. Just get the full effect, not having to worry about kicking people out or making them pay. Or, well, actually, to be honest with you, the kicking them out was a fun thing.
I know you
It was
like
fun.
that.
I enjoyed that. Except when we used to do it at like 2 a.m. It was like we were all just burnt out. Back in the day when we drank during DZ Fest, I would go from like drunk to sober to hungover all in one full day. And it was just, by the end of it, it was just like, just please, God, just leave so I can go to bed.
That is why, what you just said is why I know it never worked, but I had to do it. I always encourage, like, don't drink because this is already hard, and that's just going to make it's going to be fun for a couple hours. Don't get me wrong. Why wouldn't it be? But man, by 8, 9, 10, 11, you're going to be like, ugh, sitting in 90 degrees all day, instantly hungover, like, you're just like, this sucks. And that's the people I've heard, like, not have the best time have been people who got really drunk early, So it happens. But yeah, thank you for always doing that. I mean, that people like you, there's a handful of people who are like game changers in the trajectory of everything, and you're one of them. So thank you. But yeah, you probably are the best door person I ever could have known or found for sure.
I just feel like I've always had this like aura about me that people just think I'm a tough guy.
Yeah.
And I've never been like the tough guy where I walk into a room and just start pushing people around.
I think because you instantly can like speak. Like a lot of people walk into a space and they don't just go for the jugular of like conversation. And you do. You come in and you're just like, what's up, guys? And you just start going right at it. And some people are just like, hey, what's up? And then they kind of they stop. And you just like can slide right in to people's demeanors and just kind of like go for it. That's where, what you brought up earlier. You probably had that naturally, and then you learned how to grow it and make it stronger.
If you ever met my father, you would know that I've gotten it from him. He's a man of gift of gab, but he's the traditional like dad joke kind of guy.
Yeah.
That's how he breaks the ice. I just always looked at it as like, we're all equal. So I mean, like if this person doesn't like me tomorrow, it really doesn't change my mind at all, and just give it a chance. I found like reading has been one of my strongest standpoints because when you read, you can read anything. You don't even have to read like books that are educational. You can just read murder mysteries. But even in those murder mysteries, there are topics in there that they bring up that will stick with you and you can bring up into a conversation, and you just, you'll touch somebody's interest and then, make yourself kind of interesting to talk to. And you could be talking about nonsense, like movies. I've always been a very good movie quote guy. I don't know why that's the only thing that sticks in my brain, but I've used movie quotes on numerous occasions where they just like pop up in my head because it's just the perfect moment to say this thing. I wish I could remember things that were pertinent, but alas, that's just not my skill. So, just go with your strengths.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, back to the medical professional. I mean, you became an EMT after high school, right?
Correct.
Like 18, 19?
I would say I think at the end of my senior year, I think I got, no, it couldn't have been because that
you have to do the classes.
Yeah. So
at Marine,
yeah,
right?
It was, I think it was maybe I want to say it was a year after high school, but I would probably be wrong. It might not even have been a year.
Were you at Menards?
I was at Menards.
Right.
And I quit Menards. And I thought, man, I worked for Menards for like 5 years, and I was so excited to quit this job. I was like, I'm going to just throw my badge at them. It just didn't end like that. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I'm just not the villain that I wanted to be. But yeah, so I left Menards to go and be a Medicar driver. It was a little bit more money at the time, and it gave me, I was going to school at the same place. It's called Superior Ambulance.
Yeah.
And so I took their accelerated EMT program, and while doing the program, they offered Medicar driving. And so I jumped on that because then after I got out of EMT school, I had hoped that they would keep me on and put me through as an EMT, easy in. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. I made the transition as soon as I got my EMTB I transitioned into, being an EMT, driving an ambulance instead of a Medicar, which in the long run, they're in the private ambulance company, most of the time it's just a van anyways, with just lights. So it was an easy transition. I already knew all the higher ups. I knew everything like that. I would say strongly that Superior Ambulance would be a great starting point for anybody that wants to get into EMT. They're a more worldly company where they're not just focused on, making money off the old. They do a million different things. They do the Chicago Marathon. They do Blackhawks games, Bulls games. They held contracts for the stadium at Soldier Field. Movie sets. They do a ton of stuff. So if you wanted to get your foot in the door of something else, they're a great company to jump off of. And I swear I'm not getting paid by them or anything like that, but I enjoyed my time there. I did not enjoy being a EMT.
For those listening, what, if you could be more specific, what's the major difference between an EMT and a paramedic?
So all paramedics are EMTs. EMT is like your starting point. Like you learn the basics of life or emergency medicine in a sense. You learn, basic life support, CPR. You learn some very small amounts of medications. I mean, you can assist a patient in giving them nitro or assist them in something else, but you really don't have very many things to go on. You can give aspirin, but other than that, and an oxygen. But what's cool about the EMT side is you learn all of the basics that die hard for the rest of your career. I mean, your vital signs, all of that. That's pretty much your sword and shield. I mean, that's the only thing you get to do, and so you really focus on that. You get your blood pressures down, you get your respiratory rates down, and you get your documentation down to the point to where, EMT, you start getting your foot in the door with talking to nurses at hospitals. I mean, there's not a lot of emergency calls when you're an EMT, but there are occasional stuff, and so you have to think on your toes and, but you're not getting thrown into it to where somebody's going to die in your hands. I mean, the possibility is there, but it's not so often. Mm-hmm. But then, so you go, after you get to your EMT, most of the time it's about a year to 2 years, and then you can upgrade to your EMTB, or from your EMTB to your EMTP. There used to be like an I, where it's like intermediate, which they eliminated that. I haven't been in it for a little while now, so I may be wrong, but I know they eliminated that when I was going through the whole thing. And then, so then you move up to paramedic, and so paramedic opens the door to pharmacology. I mean, you have... You work under a doctor, so you have a region that you work for, and the region has their own SOPs. It's a standard operating procedures, and so you follow those in certain situations. Like if somebody's having crazy heart rate or something like that, they have the medications that you can give without asking questions. You don't have to call a doctor and say, hey, I'm going to give this. No, you give this because this is in your SOPs. This is your standard operating procedure. This is what you're supposed to do in that situation. And so you do that. It takes a lot of the worry and stuff out of it because you got this little book in your back pocket. If you were smart like myself, you read it numerous of times so that you knew what to do in that situation and when to call and when not to call. Now you could always call if you weren't sure, but the thing was the funniest thing was in EMT school and paramedic school. It was like they tell you you're going to have all this stuff, you're going to have stair chairs and everything like that, but then when you get out in the field, you have dick squat besides another person, and she may be like a 20-pound or like a 90-pound girl, and we're trying to lift this 200 or 550-pound man out of a staircase in Chicago.
Sounds like this has happened to you.
Oh, definitely. Many a times.
Very specific.
Matter of fact, I tore my lower, I think it was I forget the injury, but I tore a disc in my spine, and that really kind of set my career on a downward spiral because I was out for about, I would say 3 months with a back injury. And then coming back, it was still hard to lift.
Did that happen from work?
Yeah. We were carrying somebody down a set of stairs. They were a heavy sort. My partner slipped a bit, which sent the stair chair forward. And what a stair chair is essentially like a person is sitting on a chair, like a throne. If you ever seen like a king or anything like that being carried by his poppers or whatever. So it's like one has got 2 arms at the feet and 2 arms at the shoulder, and you're essentially carrying this person down the stairs. Well, my partner slipped, and so the chair started to go forward, so I reached forward and grabbed around the patient, and I pulled back, and when I pulled back, I felt a pop. And at the time, I didn't think anything of it. I felt a little numbness down my leg, but I was like, I'm good. So we finished the call, and I sat down in the ambulance, and we were talking, and then we went to go to our next call, and I couldn't get out of the ambulance. I was in excruciating pain, numbness down my leg, and so the dispatcher was like, yeah, just go to the Minute Clinic down the road and go see. And so I get to this Minute Clinic, and it's like 2 a.m, and they got this old school doctor, and he was just so rude to me. Like, he was like, all this happened on one call. And I was like, dude, I'm not lying to you. Like, I can't walk. And he's like, come on. So he gives me an x-ray. And of course the x-ray doesn't say dick squat. I mean, it's just like, it's just my bones. Yeah, my bones were fine, but it was all the other stuff that you can't see in an x-ray. So he's like, you'll be fine. Here's some pills. Just go lay down for a bit. So I laid down for a bit, started feeling a little bit better, went back to work. Carried somebody else down some stairs and just was in excruciating pain. So I went back, and they still gave me like a cold shoulder. They're like, yeah. And so they're like, you know what? You've been here twice. Why don't you just go do an MRI? So I went to the MRI, and then I'm sitting in the room waiting for my results, and the head of the clinic comes in, and he's like, I'm so sorry. Here's some water. He's like, it turns out you've got this tear in your spine and all this stuff. And, what can we do for you? And all this stuff. And I'm thinking, man, these guys are thinking of it as sue. And I'm not that kind of guy. I don't go for lawsuits or anything like that. But yeah, man, they were definitely clenching their butt cheeks, man. They were being loose buttholes, and they tightened up real quick. And so after that, it really kind of dawned on me, like, this is reality. What if I was paralyzed, and these guys were giving me so much shit? Mm-hmm. I was like, I gotta digress. So I kept going through the thing, and shortly after, a couple other injuries, legs, knees, and stuff like that, I decided I'm gonna bail on this. And so I got into a hospital. I started working at LaGrange Hospital. Mm. And that was a totally different atmosphere because we did have all the products that we need to like assist us in moving people around and stuff like that.
What was your job title there?
An ER tech. So I worked there for 5 years as well.
What does that entail?
So ER tech is kind of, if to break it down in as aspect is like you become everybody's bitch essentially. I mean, like, I don't mean it to downplay anybody in the tech world, but they probably agree with me.
Yeah.
That you just kind of become a nurse's bitch. Even if you're a paramedic and you know all this stuff, you no longer carry that title and you no longer carry that strength.
Did you ever want to become a nurse?
That's why I got out of medicine. I got to a point to where I didn't want to be a paramedic anymore, and I didn't want to do anything because, I just didn't trust my back anymore. And I mean, we can get down that rabbit hole in a minute. It was a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But to just answer the question really quickly, no, I did not want to become a nurse because working around the nurses, they seemed to hate their lives just as much as I did. And I was doing half their job. So I was just like,
it's an intense job.
It sure is. I mean, it's not so much the job. It's just people nowadays, man. It's like the healthier they are, the worse they are.
What do you mean by that?
So I had, we'd get this like 21-year-old person in there, weighs 500 pounds, can walk to the bathroom, but refuses to walk to the bathroom. So we're carrying them to the bathroom, or worst case scenario, they piss on themselves, and then you're cleaning them up, but you know full well that they can do it themselves. But then you have this 90-year-old lady, right? Riddled with cancer on her deathbed and is pleading with you to let her walk to the bathroom because this could be the last moment that she gets to walk to the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's just like seeing these different things and just you just want to shake these people, like, just wake the fuck up, man. That you'll have your time to be laying in a bed. Today's not it, I like to think about the quote that from Fight Club, where he's talking about himself when he's going to these meetings about people dying, and he goes, I'm going to misquote this a little bit, but the idea is going to be there. He's like, he's looking at these people and he says, he's like, I'm not sick or dying at all. I'm actually the warm little center that the world is surrounding around. And that thought is like, you just want to tell these people that that's what's going on right now. It's like, you aren't dying. You are just being lazy, and of course that's going to get hit with, a negative thought too. It's just like, but being in that position and being, I wouldn't say forced, but wanting to help these people, but they're not in need of help. They can help themselves. It really starts to like eat at you. But
how long were you there for?
I was at LaGrange Hospital for about 5 years. I want to say I have some with 5.
Can you hand me another beer,
Absolutely.
please? I can't begin to imagine the things you saw, Mark. It'll probably keep me up at night.
The funny thing about that is the first question that everybody asks you when you're in that sort of situation or that type of work is, what's the worst thing you ever see? And, it's funny because everybody laughs it off and they'll tell their story. But really, I look at them and be like, yeah, I want to relive that day again for you so that you can.
That's why I'm not asking.
No, but I'm just saying, no,
I know
it's
you
fine.
mean.
This is where we're at right now. We're
Yeah.
supposed to be asking that question. But, and just, you're at a party or whatever and you're drinking beers and be like, yeah, I'm a paramedic. It's like, man, what's the worst thing you ever seen, dude? And it's like, those stories never come up. I usually go for the more comedic things, like the craziest things or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the worst things we ever see aren't always the worst thing, like it may be something small, but the way it touches you is the problem.
Yeah.
So I don't know if everybody's like this, but so when I was in emergency medicine, you start to build a guard, you start to separate yourself from it. It's not reality. This is just work. Like when you go to work, it's not real. It's just work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when work is life and death, it's a little different.
Absolutely.
But our mindsets are the same. You go in there, we could be in a room with somebody dying and we could all be talking about what's for lunch. It's not because we're heartless. It's because in that situation, our topic, like if I'm in an emergency situation, somebody's in, critical thing. My job is not to feel bad for this person. My job is to help this person, get them to where they need to be. If I'm feeling bad for them, I'm setting them up for failure because I'm not acting. Their family can feel bad for them.
That's why family needs to be
for
separate from it.
Exactly.
They can't be working with them.
So what you start to get yourself into, though, is you can't turn that off anymore. So you get into that motion to where you're guarding yourself, you're guarding yourself, you're guarding yourself. And each time you see something a little worse, that scale goes a little higher. It's kind of like drugs. You got to keep taking a drug to follow that, what is the word I'm looking for?
That fix?
No. So like when you
Threshold?
I guess you can call it a threshold, but I feel like there's another word for it that I'm not going to waste too much time on. Anyway, we're going to go past that.
Yeah.
But you get to that certain high point and now you start to get afraid, like, cause you've got this guard thing. It's like, I'm terrified.
Tolerance.
Yeah. Okay. So your tolerance is so high that you get terrified to what's going to beat that, because you get to a point to where you're like, nothing can faze me.
Yeah.
And see, growing up, I had a twin sister, and my twin sister died at 12 years old. And so my threshold for what affects me emotionally was extremely high. I mean, like,
yeah,
I still have never really broke down since the day that I found out my sister died. And with that, it was almost like a badge of honor at one point. Like I thought I was a Superman. When I first got into medicine, I was like, nothing can touch me. But then I found out that like, it's not about what can touch you. It's what happens when it's almost like radiation. At first it doesn't seem so bad, but the radiation continues and then it becomes terminal. And what I mean by that is that like you lose your ability to be sympathetic. I can't, you go to go to a funeral now and I'll look at it like it's nothing because I've lost that ability to feel that. And so since I've gotten out of emergency medicine, it's gotten better, but I still struggle with it so much to where there would be times where somebody had died, you were in the room while the patient's family is in there, holding the patient's hand, and you're thinking to yourself, like, I should be sad here. This is real. But it's like, you're almost like you're watching it on TV. And once you leave that apron or that room, it's like it never happened. You're just going into the next room. And this is just Billy who broke his arm. You were just in a room with somebody literally dying right next door to Billy with the broken arm. And Billy's laughing because he's not feeling anything because we gave him a little pain meds or something like that. And you're joking with him. And then you go into the next room and it's Philip, who's a 40-year-old man who stubbed his toe and he got an ambulance ride to the ER for his stubbed toe. That's where I'm coming at, is where you start to lose your patience with people like that. Because Joanne, dying down the road there, she would love to be having a stubbed toe right now. But unfortunately, she's, dying from cancer. That's where your mind goes, is like, how do I feel bad for you, man? I know it's your worst day for you, but I've seen worse. And so it's really hard to get that going. So you start to guard yourself on that so you don't flip out on Phil, because the guy who stubbed his toe is always the dick. He's not just some nice guy who comes in and is like, oh man, I stubbed my toe. Can you guys give me a Band-Aid? I'm gonna get out of your hair. No, it's this guy. He needs water. He needs a turkey sandwich. He needs a blanket. He needs a warm blanket because that one wasn't warm enough. He needs to be walked to the bathroom on a wheelchair. He needs to take up all your time.
Yeah.
But you still need to get over there and do something for that person because their family needs consoling.
Yeah.
They need the attention. And it's sad because we're all a bit narcissist. But when you're in that position, it pulls you from that. The worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And you see all that. So it becomes really difficult to feel bad for certain things. And my point of view is, what I'm trying to get at is, ignorance is bliss after a while. Because if I could just be ignorant to all the things that I've seen and learned, it would be a godsend. Like if we could...
There's got to be residual effects on your psyche, on your subconscious, or 11 years of seeing these things.
Yeah.
Like, how could there not be? I mean, you can only be so numb before it's like, it really is affecting your life.
Yeah.
Anyone. And
the problem is, and with a lot of problem with people, is you just become, you get into denial because you don't want to be weak. This is my career, right? This is what I do. This is who I am. I'm an EMT. I'm a paramedic. This is what I am. And you don't focus on yourself. You're focusing on everybody else. You're putting yourself out there. You're that martyr. Always been that martyr. And that's what your job is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's a pride in that. And when you feel like yourself failing, that's like being an athlete that can't play anymore.
Yeah.
That's the same concept. And it really, now not only are you mentally damaged from your job, but now you're mentally damaged because you can't do your job. It's like, it's like being, what is it? I don't know. It's a quote from Austin Powers, where he says, he's like, I'm fat because I eat because I'm fat, and I'm fat because I eat. It's you get into that situation,
something
and
like that.
You're screwed, and that whole time you're just telling yourself you're fine, and you may be fine, you may feel fine. Post-traumatic stress and stuff like that doesn't happen on the day. It doesn't happen on the year. It could be 10 years from now, and someday I'll wake up and just realize I'm fucked.
Do you ever feel any tinges of stuff like that in your life?
Well, I could tell you right now that my biggest problem with like opening up to people and stuff like that is because so this will digress back to my sister dying. So when I came home, so my sister, to give you a little we were at a summer camp. And it's a family-owned summer camp, or it was a family-owned summer camp. We used to go there for every family reunion and everything like that. And we were there for the first time for a summer. And it was the first day we got out there. And it was the perfect storm, So we were down eating lunch, and there was a huge storm that knocked the power out. And so we were sitting in this lunchroom, and they walked us downstairs, and they did like kumbaya and tried to keep the kids entertained until it was bedtime. So once it was bedtime, they started filing everybody out. my group was the last to go. I didn't see my sister leave, but hers had to have been early on. And so we were one of the final groups to leave, and we had to go. You have to go up this giant rock hill. It's like it was like loose rocks. And so you go up this giant rock hill, and it comes to a curve, and one side goes to the females group, the female housing, and the other one goes to the boys housing. And in that curve, there is a intersection down at the other end. One will go out to the entrance of the park, and one goes to the females part. And there was a circle of people. And we're walking down, and I looked over and saw the circle of people, and was like, man, that's weird. But I got this like weird tinge in myself, like, man, something's weird about that. And so we go back to the room, and of course the power's out, and we're joking around. And so over the radio, they call my camp counselor. They're like, hey, you need to come here. And so of course, we're like, what's going on? And he goes, well, somebody seemed to have passed out. And the one kid goes, is it my sister? And he goes, well, what's your sister's name? And he said some name I don't remember. But then I was like, well, is it my sister? And I was like, well, he's like, what's her name? And I was like, Chris. And he's like, he like stopped for a second, looked at me, and it was like, I gotta go. And so he left. And then, so we went to bed. Woke up the next morning, and the power was still out, and they were taking kids out to get water from a truck they had. And so we were waiting on our turn to get water, and Mr. Pickett was his name. He was the groundskeeper. Sweet old man. I've known him pretty much my whole life. He comes in, he's like, hey, we got to go. We're going to your grandma's house. Now, I was in I forget where Timber Ridge is at, but it's far out in Indiana. My grandparents lived in Michigan. I was like, how the hell are we getting to Michigan? And I'm like, okay. So I get in his rickety ass van, and I'm like, well, we're going to get my sister. And he looks at me, and he's like, well, your sister's already there. And I was like, oh, okay. So we go down this road, and we're driving for a little while, and then we pull down this super long driveway. And I was like, I have no idea where we're at. We pull up to this giant house. Well, it turns out this house is my great aunt's house that I've never been to, my Aunt Barb. And I'm walked into the doorway with everybody kind of just like circling me. And my parents are there, and my mom's got red eyes, my dad's got red eyes. And I'm like, where's Chris? And she goes, well, Chris didn't make it. She died. And I just remember collapsing. I didn't even know what that word meant, but I knew it wasn't good. So we were there for a while. My aunt made us food or whatever. And so then we drove home. And on the drive home, I had to listen to my mom cry every 20 minutes. And it was constant. But I looked at my dad, and my dad wasn't crying. And he probably was, but I just didn't see it. And so, we're good. I'm going, I'm good. So we get home, and I see my dad break down a little bit. So then I'm like, oh, I'm good to cry. So then when we see my sister at home, my sister Ange, I cry a little bit, and then it's cut off. And so then we go, and it took a little while to get her body back to the house. So it was almost 2 weeks before we could have the funeral, because she had to have an autopsy. And so her body finally comes back, and we go to the funeral. And I remember the day before the funeral, where I'm at church with my dad, and my dad gives me $10, and he's like, because I didn't go into detail about my father, but he's not very good at compassionate context. So he's like, this is going to be rough. And he gives me $10. But, the whole time, this guy's not cried, And, that's not true. My dad just doesn't cry in public. I've seen my dad cry on many occasions. But he stayed strong that whole time. And, went to the funeral, he didn't cry. And then from that point on, I just didn't cry anymore. I didn't feel things like that anymore. I went to my grandma's funeral. It was like nothing, I handled it no problem. And so where I go back to getting into medicine, that's where I thought I had this shield, nothing can touch me. I can see anything. I didn't realize how bad it was until I think I was 25. And I woke up one day, and I was at my grandma's house, and she was like, I'm going out for a walk. And I thought to myself, well, what if I'm not here when you come back? And that That idea just festered in my brain. And so I started to meet anxiety for the first time. And Mr. Anxiety came like a tsunami. It completely engulfed me. To the point where I was almost agoraphobic. I was afraid to leave the house because I thought I was going to have a panic attack, and it was all surrounding around my health. Like any ailment, I was super conscious about how I feel, and I still carry that to this day. I went to go see, a psychiatrist, and I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress from when that happened. But
from when your sister
she died when I was 12, and now I was 25. That's how long post-traumatic stress took to kick in.
Yeah.
All those years, nothing until I was 25. And then it was like, how I'm going to be an adult, all of these things come crashing down on you. And it was just that perfect storm that just snapped that little fiber that was holding on to keep me from going over the edge. And so...
Do you think your sister, like, that's what made you want to go into the medical field? Like, help people, help people with pain, maybe try to prevent stuff?
I would like to say it was that, but realistically, I was just looking for something that I could do that I think I was good at. And I was a people person. I really didn't have, my sister didn't invoke some kind of epiphany in me to where I wanted to fight all sickness and stuff like that. My sister's disease was like a random, act of God. It wasn't like I had to watch her suffer from cancer or something like that to where I got that kind of motivation. It was like the way that my sister died was she was walking and the lights turned off. That's how the doctor explained it to me when I was a kid. So she had an aortic stenosis. It was where the major artery of the heart closes. And so with that closing, no blood can go to anywhere. If the aorta closes up, there's no blood going anywhere. So no blood to the brain, no blood to the heart, no blood to anything. So it's almost like having a blood vessel blow up in your brain and you die instantly. That's the way that he explained it. And then that perfect storm where the power was out. I'm sure they couldn't get emergency response, and we were in the boondocks of Indiana, so there was no hospital really close. So like I said, it was that perfect storm. So there was no if somebody was just better at their job, we could have saved her. There was no saving her. It's just that.
What causes it at 12?
She was born with it, so it went away. So she was born as a blue baby. She came out. We were early. I came out healthy, fat, probably because I was stealing all the nutrients, but she came out very small, blue. She wasn't breathing, and they found out she had a heart murmur. And then they did some work for her. They did some rehab, and she was a normal kid up until 12. And then, I'm sure if there was a little, going down that route to where I'm sure if my parents took us to more doctor's appointments or if we had a better doctor, they probably would have found it. But then I think to myself, then my sister would have been going through a shit ton of heart surgeries, instead of creating a terrible situation into a worse situation to where you started blaming other people, my family just decided it was an act of God. Because then nobody's up to blame. Nobody, you see families break because of those situations. On my family, God forbid, my mom, she is probably the strongest lady that could ever live because she's lived through, my brother died, my sister died, and then she also had 2 stillborn children.
Oh, man.
So 4 children have left this earth before her. You see movies and stuff like that where children die and it destroys the family, they get, So what I'm saying is it's just instead of creating a bigger problem, it's like spilt milk. We can cry and complain and who dropped the bottle, but at the end of the day, you just move on. And we moved on. Granted, we probably didn't, we didn't take they brought me to a psychiatrist when it first happened, and it was like a joke because I really didn't understand until I got older. Yeah. And then by that point, it was too late. It was already locked in.
12 is young, too. It's young enough.
Yeah, they say 12 years old is when everything locks. That's when you got languages and stuff like that, that's when it locks in and then becomes really hard to change that. People with Southern draws that had it, I've lived in Chicago for 32 years, but they still have this wicked Southern draw for some reason. It's because they were 12 years old wherever they were when they got it, and it locked in place. And unfortunately, this situation happened just at that point of locking in, who knows if it would have happened after 12, I would have had a better way of handling it. But of course, and then like going to school with everybody who went to school with her, asking you questions like, do you miss her and shit like that. It's like, I just didn't want to talk to anybody about it.
7th grade?
Yeah, 6th grade, going into junior high.
And those kids, they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
And they don't know if they're asking something inappropriate.
Exactly.
Everyone doesn't know. Like, that's really rare at 12. It doesn't really happen. So when it does, teachers, students, everyone's just like, when you're older, everyone's like, oh, my condolences, sorry for your loss. Like when you're our age, death is normal.
Yeah, well, it's inevitable.
We both been to so many funerals. You're just like, yeah, it's awful and it's sad, but you understand how to cope and understand what it means.
Yeah.
But,
well, to cope to a sense, you know what I'm saying?
Cope to a sense.
Everybody has their ways of coping, but like I love it when I was talking to the psychiatrist. She's like, "Well, you didn't do it right." I was like, well, there was no fucking manual to when your sister dies at a fucking...
What
I'm saying?
Like at 25, you talked to her?
Yeah. You're like...
What did she say you didn't do right?
Well, she's like, you didn't grieve properly. And it's like, how the fuck
There's no rule book to grieving to your twin sister.
I just followed what my body wanted to do, and my body didn't want to cry no more, so I didn't cry no more.
Yeah. You kind of just suppressed it naturally.
So... Yeah, I not even it just didn't happen. It didn't come up anymore. It just locked out.
Yeah.
So all the way up until I had to put my dog down, and that was October. Was 3 years ago, October, because that was when Athena was born. So 3 years ago, October 22nd, I put my dog Beretta down, and I lost it. I fucking lost it. It was like all of those years of not crying and then just broke the seal. It was like Niagara Falls. The lady at the veterinarian thought she was going to need to call an ambulance for me. I couldn't stop.
Oh, man.
Like, I was just, dude, it was ugly.
You had Beretta for a long time.
Yeah. And, ugly, just stupid cry.
Yeah.
And it felt good. It felt like I was starting to heal, because I had been out of medicine and, that finally got me. It was another thing that got me to that point. And, what's crazy about that is 3 days later, my sister's dog was pregnant and she's like, oh, it's going to be a couple months, but you can have one of the puppies since, Beretta died. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. The next day after that, her dog gave puppies. And what was it? So I asked her, I was like, are any of the puppies white? And she's like, yeah, but it's a male, and I really wanted another female. And I was like, okay. So, I went to bed, thinking like, okay, a male dog doesn't sound so bad. I think I can handle that. Well, the next morning, I wake up and I get a text message from her saying there was another girl overnight and she's white. And so, and then I had Athena, and honestly, Athena has saved my life in so many words. But also, she may destroy my life because, God, when that dog, I pray to God that I go before that dog does. Because fuck, man,
like you're obsessed with her.
Oh, I love that dog more than I love myself, man.
Yeah,
I really do, and it terrifies me that dogs' lives are so short because
I know dogs. That's how I feel about Bo.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about Patsy. Like, you remember Patsy when she died?
Of course, I remember Patsy.
Animal, like dogs, I love all animals. I like cats too, but I always group with dogs.
Yeah.
So I'm naturally a dog person. And yeah, when she died, that was rough. Putting her to sleep at the animal welfare by myself. I was alone with her. Saw the life come out of her. That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. I've never seen anything die.
So
anything. So I know you've probably seen plenty of death, but I've never seen anything die before. That was still to this day the last time I saw anything die was her. Yeah. Nothing else.
Good, man. It's not.
I'm not a fan.
No,
not a
it's
fan.
Not something you want to see. I just like people are like so captivated by the things I've seen. It's like, dude, I didn't ask to see these things. I was just there and ready to handle it
until
I couldn't handle it.
Well, also until you took a job where you like deliberately see those.
Oh
things.
yeah, but
that job is cool. You ever see the movie Sunshine Cleaning?
Yeah,
that's that job, right?
Well,
it's
loose on that. Yeah. So so when I got out of medicine, so we can close what we're talking about. When I got out of medicine, I got into
Mark, you're making me all messed up over here.
hoarding and crime scene cleanup. But I want to go back real quick before we touch base on that.
Want to, yeah.
So my biggest problem that I had and I could not get out of my brain was when I put my dog down was, so when we were there and my dog wasn't good. She had mini tumors, cancerous, all of that. It was time. She was losing her bowel control. But of course, when we went on our final walk and I got her a cheeseburger, she was acting like a new pup again. But I knew the real thing. So we go into this thing and she had to be carried in. And you're sitting in this room and when the doctor comes in, she starts growling. And, I pull her clothes and tell her everything's okay. But then in my mind, it clicks to me. I was like, this dog is trusting me right now. Like I'm telling this dog it's okay. It's all going to be fine. But I know why I'm there. The vet knows why I'm there. But the dog has no idea that I've literally brought this dog there to kill her. I know it's youth, but in my mind, I'm going to have to, and I think that's what some people need to really come down to terms with when they get a dog. Like the idea of a dog is so great, but you have to come down to terms. Are you going to be that person that can carry this decision with you? Or are you going to be the person that leaves their dog on a highway? If you're going to be that person, don't get animals.
Yeah.
But, I'm there, I'm holding this dog and she drifts off. But the whole time I'm just like, I feel like a fucking liar. You know what I'm saying? Like I brought this dog here. She trusted me, and I made this decision.
Yeah.
It wasn't forced upon me, but I felt like she was suffering. She was having a hard time moving, hard time everything like that, and I made the decision. And that's the thing. So when I got Athena, I was ready, and I'm gonna ride Athena out. We're gonna do it until it's absolutely necessary then, and I'm going to be with her throughout the whole thing just like that, because if anything, if I'm making that decision, you damn well better be in that room. You hear about the stories about people leaving the dog to get put down. It's to that dog, you are their entire life. You know what I mean? And I couldn't do that to anything like that. But let's digress onto a better topic here.
I don't know if the word better is the right word to use.
Well, So back to what we were talking about before. So when I got out of medicine, I went into hoarding and crime scene cleanup. I worked for this like ma and pa company called TSA Clean. And it was the weirdest thing. So I found them on Indeed. And I was like, man, this sounds right up my alley. Like I can handle this. It's not people anymore. It's things. And so, but I mean, it is people, but I'm just cleaning up after them. It's not the person, it's the things they leave behind.
But what made you want to go into that from where you were? You just
there was no like, oh, I should get into emergency medicine. Literally, I was on Indeed looking for new jobs.
Yeah.
And I stumbled across this job. And I sent out, my resume, and it was like a 4-call process. It was 2 calls, a video call, and then I got the job. And so the lady calls, and I have a really good conversation with the first lady that I interviewed. So she's like, I'm going to pass your thing along. Just, expect a call in a couple days. I didn't get a call. So I called again, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to set you up with Al. I didn't know who Al was. And so I get this video call from this guy, Al, and he turns out to be the co-owner. Him and his wife own the company. And they're like, well, we were looking for technicians, but after talking to you and all your experience, we really think you could be a great supervisor. And I was like, I've never been a supervisor in my life. Sure, why not? Let's try this out. So I agreed to the terms. And so he's like, you got a driver's license, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, well, I need you to go pick up the truck in Wisconsin. So I've never met these people in my life. And they're like, yeah, just go pick up this truck. And I said, sure. So I drove out to Wisconsin, met up this dude. I thought for sure this was like a setup. But, naive, Mark, he drives out to Wisconsin. And sure enough, there's a guy with a truck and a trailer. A giant trailer. I've never driven a truck with a trailer before, but I said, screw it, why not? So I get there and he's like, yeah, Al actually was wondering, can I see your ID? It's like, This guy didn't even worry about seeing my driver's license. He's like, yeah, just sure. Go pick up my, it was a Toyota Tundra, beautiful truck. Yeah. He's like, go ahead and just go get this truck. So I went and got it, brought it home. And then he's like, okay, well, now you need to find a place to park it. I was like, great. So I found a place. And then, so he pretty much broke it down. He's like, you're going to be, he's like, you're the supervisor of Illinois. And I was like, well, are there other people? And he's like, well, no, we're just opening up a company in Illinois. So we have a company in Wisconsin. We have a company in
So you're the supervisor of the whole state?
Yes, whole state of Illinois. And so I initially just got a bunch of my friends to help me out. I asked a couple of my buddies to come help me clean, refuge and garbage and blood and guts and all that. And some of them stuck around for a little while, pretty much the entire time I was there. The job was very interesting, to say the least. So I would get calls at all times of the night and just say, hey, we got this suicide. You need to come and check it out and clean it. And so we would pack up the truck at 3 a.m, drive over to this house, and sure enough, there was a suicide in there. And
person's still there?
No, the bodies are gone. Even the people that own the house are normally gone. Normally, we have contact with like a family friend or insurance guy or something like that, and they'll explain it. So we're cleaning the house, and when I say cleaning it, I mean like anything blood touches is contaminated. So if it's any wood products, it has to be cut out. So we cut the floors out. If it got into the grout of the floor, we have to chisel out the tiles and just completely decimate this room that this happened in. Needless to say, it is not the cheapest job.
Cheapest job in which way?
I mean, cheapest for the person or the insurance company. Those jobs, when we go to clean it could be something as small as like a blood stain on a carpet that we have to cut the carpet out and everything like that. You're talking like $9,000 to clean this house. There's no regulation on pricing. So like if we were to charge, so say you don't have insurance, you don't have home insurance, right? So instead I would charge you $700 to clean that blood stain. But if your insurance is involved, then they charge them $17,000 to clean the job because there's no like.
Who would have thought home insurance would go to those places? You need it for that type of stuff too.
Exactly. I've seen some crazy cleans, and the amount of money that goes into it is insane. And so that's where the problem started to become. It was like seeing the pricing and how much I was getting paid for this thing. I was doing all the work. I was finding like they had a phone taker. She would get the calls to what it was going on, but I would go meet the client. I would talk the client, convince them to go with the company. Then I would put the team together, purchase. I wouldn't purchase the product, like the cleaning products. The company would purchase the cleaning products, but I was doing all the legwork, but I just wasn't seeing the turnout on the thing. So say like a job like that blood stain would take me 2 hours to clean, right? And I'm getting paid $20 an hour to clean. So that's $40, but the company just made, $20,000 on this.
Yeah.
Like that was where my problem began.
Seems to be like every business, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah. But it was more because I was more in depth in it. So like I started having problems with that. And I was just like, you know what? I don't think this is worth it for me. Not to mention after my friends didn't want to do it anymore, I didn't want to have to work with random people and manage random people. So I was like, screw this. I'm out. So I quit that job and then just kind of rolled on.
How many years did you do that for?
I did that for, I think, 2 years.
Man, that is insane.
Seen some crazy shit. A lot of the hoarding houses that I clean, you ever see hoarders? Yeah. It's a lot like hoarders.
I've been in one house that's kind of, it would be considered a hoarding house. And it was rough, but I'm sure you saw like disturbingly.
Oh, yeah.
Like disturbing things.
Wall-to-wall garbage.
Wow. What?
We had a hoarding / death one time where a little old lady, she passed away in her tub, but the tub was running.
Oh, no.
Nobody found her until she had decomposed and clogged the drain, and the water overflowed over the tub and then filled the house. But the house also was hoarded. So it was filled with just junk and garbage. So it became a 2-part job. Now we have this like
can't you just burn it down?
At that point, I wanted
Christ.
to, man. I wanted to. It was one of the hardest cleans I've ever cleaned it. And the entire time you're cleaning this house, it was in the middle of summer.
Oh my God.
And we're in these sweaty plastic suits with
what's
this
the gear
shit.
you wear?
So we wore like a full plastic bodysuit with like if it was like a death or anything like that, you had like a full face mask with like
a respirator?
It wasn't like a full oxygen respirator, but it was like giant respirator. It was almost like a scuba diver's mask. It was a full coverage. We had that. You had neck coverage, hands. 9 times out of 10, you wore 2 gloves and like 2 like hospital gloves and like industrial non-tear gloves on top of that. You would duct tape all the areas to where so nothing would touch your skin, and you would just get.
What kind of chemicals are you using to clean?
So we used a bunch of different things. We used Cabicide. There was this blood breakdown stuff that I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I never could pronounce the name, so that doesn't help. But yeah, it was this thing that would break down any kind of like bodily fluid. You just sprayed it on there, and it would just literally just break this stuff down. It would just like, I wonder if it like destroyed cells. I don't know how it worked, but it worked wonders. And I can't tell you the name. And I'm sorry, I'm failing you guys on this podcast with the technical terms of everything, but.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You were doing the thing.
Yeah,
all these jobs you've been talking about.
You know,
you
the
were
problem
doing it.
too was we weren't like, I wasn't like, so the company was licensed, but we were never trained. I was kind of like
just thrown into it.
Going out there.
How's that possible? How's that legal?
It probably wasn't. Like I said, it was a mom and pop company.
Classic mom and pop company. Man, that's rough. I mean, I remember one time you came over, probably for an intimate evening or a bonfire or something. And, an intimate evening for those who are listening, an intimate evening were the shows we'd have every month that Mark would work the door. And you probably were telling me something about the suicide with like, you were like shocked by the way that the blood like made it around a corner or something like that. I was just like, what are you talking about?
Blood would end up when you're cleaning. It was just in the strangest part, like when you're cleaning like a picture frame. Right? It's all over the front of the picture frame, but you would think there would be nothing behind it. But sure enough, you turn the picture frame around and there would be like just 2 dots somehow made.
Did you just throw that away?
On there? Yeah. I mean, you would, try to get the picture out. The object behind it is not leaving anything for the family to find.
Yeah.
So you don't want any blood because that just brings them back.
Yeah. Well, doesn't a weird cutout in a piece of carpet bring them back to something?
I mean, in theory, but it's not like...
It's not as bad, but it's something.
But I wouldn't cut out just a circle carpet. Yeah. I would rip the entire carpet out. So now you just have like... And sometimes it's even the subflooring if it made it through the carpet.
That's to leave complete names out of this one, but that reminds you of the time that you and I went to a friend's house.
Exactly,
And yeah, that was a hard one for me.
Oh, for sure.
But seeing the floor without the carpet, that, what you just said kind of brought me back to that moment.
Exactly.
And I was just
know exactly the moment you're talking about.
Yeah, and I just remember sitting there just kind of like it helps, but now your imagination just runs wild.
Sure.
And you go, and then I just go like.
But see, that's the thing. So your imagination's a lot, I guess it could be worse than reality sometimes. But for the people that saw the reality, that
it helps.
That thing that now it's just a board. Now it's like it's gone. Some people don't. Like they 9 times out of 10 they sell the house 9 times out of 10.
Right? How could you live there?
Get the fuck out of there. It's not.
I mean, I think about that with my family here.
Yeah.
Like with the tragedy that's happened at this house with my uncles and aunts and my mom and her siblings. It's just like to still live here amongst that, to be named after that person that passed away. You're just like, oh my God.
But that could almost create a better bond with the house though too.
I feel that.
So if you weren't there for the thing at hand and now it's just kind of a legend.
Yeah.
It's kind of like owning a haunted house.
That's how it is for me.
Yeah, exactly.
All the stories I've heard about family members that have passed away, they're all just like legends to me. They're stories that kind of like help me embrace this house, and it's really weird. It's a very strange house because of that. Like that, it's so personal. It's my bloodline, but I wasn't alive for that.
Hey, not to mention, there's like 17 people living here. That has nothing
I'm glad
to do
you used
with
a really, really big number where it's just extremely sarcastic. No, yeah, it's that death in a home is such a weird thing, and humans are so fascinated by it, by ghosts and auras and orbs and spirits and God and the devil and just I think it's the not knowing.
Well, for sure. I mean, think about it, man. It's the one thing that nobody can really answer because nobody's come back from it. Like there's people, but nobody's been dead. Like they've been clinically dead, or whatever they say, where your heart stops and then you come back.
Have you witnessed that before?
Oh yeah, man. There's been. So I got a great story. So one of our paramedics from Lyons Fire Department, he calls in and he says, "Hey, you guys, this isn't a normal emergency call. My dad called me and he said that he's having some chest pains. I'm going to bring him in." It wasn't because his dad lived outside of the town, so it had nothing to do with Lyons. But he drove to, get his dad and brought him in. As soon as his dad broke the barrier of the doorway, the emergency room, he dropped, coded, went completely, his heart stopped. So we get him in the room, we hook him up to the monitor. I immediately start doing CPR on this guy. I'm pushing. Needless to say, I'm destroying this man's chest. And we get some sort of a rhythm going, so we're able to shock. And so we give him, a good shock and start pushing again, and we start seeing some good rhythms here. And then I start hearing like a grunting noise. So when you're doing CPR, 9 times out of 10, I mean, if they're a barrel-chested man, it's a hard push until you break that sternum. Once you break that sternum, it's like, oh, thank God, because it's like pushing on like a 50, 60-pound weight trying to get your,
What do you mean break? Like literally break the bone?
Yeah, you literally break the ribs.
That happens?
So, oh, yeah. And you'll never get used to the feeling.
Wait.
So
I didn't know this.
Yeah. So when you do CPR, good quality CPR, you will break the ribs.
So the right way to do CPR, you break ribs?
Oh, yeah.
I don't like this at all.
Well, it's because...
Don't ever do it on me.
Thinking about it, like you're pumping the heart.
So when you come back from life, your ribs
you're fucked up. You're fucked up, man.
Oh, God.
Your intercostal muscles.
Why are we not talking about this? I've never heard this before.
So we're pushing on this guy, and all of a sudden I start feeling like something's pushing back. Like I'm feeling some muscles start to gain. And I always call it, so like when I'm doing CPR, you're real personal with the person that you're pushing on, right? Because you're like in their general area, right? You're going to town. CPR is not a thing for the lighthearted. It is a full 100% workout.
Yeah.
You are pushing this man's heart. You are literally manually driving this person's body.
Yeah.
So you're pushing away, sweat your balls off. Fluids are splashing you in the face.
Fluids?
Well, because, their mouth is so close. Think about it. Look at where your chest is at, where your mouth is.
Why is this not in the movies?
Right? So, shit's coming out. And sometimes, what happens is like in the tube may not actually be in the lungs. It could be in the stomach. Right?
Yeah.
And so that stomach fills up with air. The air's got to go somewhere, and you're pushing right next to it. Sometimes shit comes out.
Yeah.
Vomit happens. A lot of times what I do is wear a mask, and then I wore a mask over my face and a shield so that I wasn't
you
getting
don't do the
sprayed.
mouth anymore. That's not a thing.
No, you don't do mouth to mouth.
When did that stop?
So mouth to mouth stopped a while back, but when you're in a hospital setting, you usually have an ET tube down. So there's a direct line to the lungs. So there's no more stopping. So CPR, you do your compressions, you stop to give breath, and you do compressions again.
Yeah.
That's outside. Once you have a direct line, an ET tube in, you don't have to stop compressions. You continuously compress the heart.
So say you're at the skate park and someone gets hurt and you have to do CPR, you would have to.
No, so you could, but they say there's like 15 minutes of oxygen still circulating through your blood system.
Oh, so you don't really need it.
So you don't they've weaned against doing mouth to mouth because of, especially in this time, COVID and everything like that. But I
would be like, please give me COVID if it saves my life.
Also, if you think about it, you're pushing air down somebody's air. You ever like take a breath and get it down as they say, the wrong hole, and you start coughing? Well, think about forcefully pushing air down. And when I was talking about vomiting, so you're pushing air into the belly instead of the lungs, and you fill the belly up. Well, that air's got to come out, like I said, and they end up projectile vomiting.
Yeah.
And so you go down for a breath and they projectile vomit into your mouth. You'll never do mouth to mouth ever
Has
again.
that happened to you?
No, but I've never given mouth to mouth. So, like I said, back to this guy, right? So I'm doing compressions on this guy, and this is the first guy that compressions and a shock were the only things we needed. We were about to give epinephrine, and he comes back, right? So he's got his head to the side, kind of just dangling, and all of a sudden his head straightens, looks me dead in the eyes, like his eyes like were off. Then they turn to me, and when somebody's dead, their eyes are like just wide pupils, and all of a sudden those things just tightened up, focused on me. He sat up, projectile vomited, and then laid back and was like, "What's going on, guys?" And I'm just like, dude, you're fucking dead, man. Like, this is the first time I've ever brought somebody back. Now, we've brought people back, but 9 times out of 10, they're on a vent and they end up dying later. So in the movies and TV shows, they make CPR like this magical thing that people come back to life. I've probably done CPR on, I want to just throw the number out there. Well, I'll just say 500 people, right?
Wait, what?
I'll just say that because I've done CPR
You can't count.
A numerous amount of times. I'm just going to say 500. It's probably the wrong number. I'm not going to stick with 500. I'm going to lower it down to 300. Let's just say 300 people, right? In my career, I've seen probably 9 people walk away from CPR.
Oh, God.
So
I don't like that.
in theory, like if you're in the hospital
Yeah.
and you code, you have a chance of living. If you're at home and you code,
What do you mean code?
so your heart stops, right? So you get that, that
Why is it
classic
called code?
They call it coding. I don't know where the concept came from. I'd have to look it up. But so we call it
remember
coding.
that you have to
We'll
explain
just
this
call
stuff.
it flatlining, right?
Okay.
Flatlining. Everybody knows that. Well, that
Yeah.
doesn't happen in ER.
Yeah.
Doesn't do that.
What does it do?
It just keeps going ding, 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 ding instead of that e.
Why have we been lied to?
Because
It's more dramatic?
it must be.
It's gotta be. I saw a
it's-
house.
Well, it
A lot of
used
house.
to. It used to make that noise, So that's what it.
Oh, okay.
It's like everybody can. But anyway, so say you go down at your house, right? And then the EMTs have to come and then start CPR on you. CPR should be started immediately to give you the best chance to survive.
yeah.
Because your brain starts dying immediately once it's got no oxygen. All your organs start to fail. So with that being said, the great thing about CPR is in the wild, they had no chance at all, right? If they just dropped dead somewhere and there was nobody to save them, it wouldn't have changed any amount of difference, right? So in this ER setting and I'm doing CPR, I'm rolling the dice for this guy, right? I'm literally saying, let's give it a try. Let's just see what happens, see if this guy rolls good. He rolls 7 instead of snake eyes, that aspect. So it takes a little bit of relief off of you. Like you could have done the best CPR on this guy, but in the field, he was down for 45 minutes. He got to you and he was down for another 15. That's brain death.
Yeah.
Even if you brought his heart back, he'd be an organ donor, maybe. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing. Organ donation, that's all full of shit. You don't.
Wait, what?
So a lot, when I first got into all that.
What do you mean?
I thought that like when somebody dies, you can just harvest all their organs. They have to be alive. So not like brain alive, but their body still has to be circulating. It has to be, something has to be going on. So a lot of times when they decide to take vital organs, it's somebody that's brain dead. And they ask the family, hey, can they take these organs?
You want the organs
they
to
have
be
to be
giving
fresh
oxygen and fresh.
because we have no ability to keep these things going. I mean, there
Right.
are machines out there, but they're
I have a
millions
question
of
for you
dollars.
then.
Go ahead.
We're gonna debunk this right here, right now, because I'm sick and tired of hearing it my whole life. If you're an organ donor, they're not gonna just let you die just because you're an organ donor.
Well, so they're going to do everything they can to make sure that your brain is dead.
No, I'm saying like, wouldn't they rather save you first than trying to be like, well, he's an organ donor, so we'll just let him die and take his organs out?
Depending on what hospital you go to, I can't
Wait,
confirm.
what?
No, I'm
You're
just
scaring me.
No, I'm just saying like that all depends on the doctor on the job. But
why
9
would someone
times out of
wanna do
10, they
that?
take. So we'll go to like the culture of it. They take an oath to
The Hippocratic oath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every patient is important.
Did you take that oath?
Of course, we took a different oath, but it's the same concept. To
Sure.
do no harm, all that stuff. But I couldn't recite it for you, but
I do no harm.
it's pretty much what it is. I mean, in the long sense of it.
Yeah.
But What I'm saying is like you could be at a fucking fucked up hospital and they're just like selling organs on the black market.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's the case. That's
real?
that could be real. I'm not saying
be, or do you
I've
have
never
proof?
seen it. I'm not
So
saying
you're just saying stuff.
I'm just,
No, we're not here to say stuff. We're here to. I want real empirical information.
Ideally, no. If you have like an honest doctor, they are going to make sure with every source of a dot, and and that's the beauty of it too, is you have the right to say no to organ donation.
Yeah.
Like I'm not advocating no organ donation, please. But I'm just saying that's the beauty of it, is because some people like yourself, or some people maybe past yourself, that have these fears that, they're going to take me early and stuff like that.
I don't care.
Exactly. So,
but my logic goes, why would they let you die? It's so much harder to let you die and take out your organs and hope it works to the next person. Wouldn't it be easier to try to save who's there already in their full body?
If your brain is dead, your brain is dead.
Yeah.
There's no coming back.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you go to the hospital and maybe like you're unconscious or something, and they're just like, you just got messed up in a car accident, but you'll be okay. You need to recuperate, whatever it is. I don't know.
That's not how organ donation works.
No, I'm saying, but what I'm saying is people will go like, I've heard this so many times, like, I don't want to be an organ donor because if I ever get hurt or go to the hospital, exactly.
No.
So that's what I'm trying to say.
So like I said, if you are brain dead,
yeah,
and you're an organ donor, they can take your organs without consent, I do believe. But I also think they need to touch with like a person in charge of your stuff, like a
living
will or something like that, even if you have it. But
are you an organ donor?
I am.
I am too.
But what was I getting? So like I said, organ donations when you're dead is like a bunk. Like, like everybody thinks, they could just take your kidneys and stuff. No, you have to be alive. It's a rare
So
occurrence.
if you passed out and died at home.
Yeah. Say you have a stroke, right? And your brain's dead, but you still have these good organs. They may try to take some of your organs depending on your blood type, depending on your history, all that stuff. How old you are. But the only thing they can take from you when you're dead is, I believe, some skin, the sclera of your eye, the white part of your eye, and the cornea. So like corneal blindness can be cured by organ donation from people who are dead, that they took the corneas of dead people. I've done on multiple occasions prep for organ donation on that thing. So the prep is, if anybody's wondering, is you take saline solution and you drip it into a person who has recently passed, into their eyes to moisten them, and then you close their eyes and you put these little pads over them and you tape them. That is the process to which, when we send them out, that is how the body is received by that organ donation. Or sometimes they even come into the hospital, I think, and do it if they have a morgue that supports it.
Do you know what organs can be used for a donation?
I'm not that depth in it. Like I didn't really go too deep in it. So, but we did the Gift of Life, I think, came in and kind of explained the eye process, because that's one of the things in the ER that you can prep for, because they can be taken at, like I said, they can be taken at fully dead.
Yeah.
So that the patient doesn't have to be alive. God, this is a morbid podcast.
Sure is. You've had me.
This is my life, guys. This is what lives inside my brain.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing all this, Mark. People need to hear it because it's very real. Yeah. People go through this stuff every day. People have careers like yours that are 1 minute and they quit, all the way to 40 years. It's all over the place. And I had a lot of experience in hospitals as a kid, then like very little past like 12. And I don't like them. I do not enjoy going to hospitals. I've gone on emergency room visits for getting hurt a lot. I tend to do what I'm doing right now when I'm there. I'm asking nurses and
a million questions.
Well, not anything relative to me, just like picking their brain. Like right now, like,
yeah.
How many hours do you work this shift? Like,
yeah.
Wow, how many bandages have you changed? Like dumb stuff, like stuff that they're just like, what? Why are you asking me that?
Yeah.
And I love talking to doctors.
Ask them how many asses they've wiped. That's always the fun thing. So many butts. I've seen more dicks and vaginas than a brothel, man. I've seen so many naked, foul-looking things. The body is a disgusting thing if it's not taken care of.
It's a beautiful thing when it is, though. Blue urine.
Yeah, there's medication out there that can turn your urine blue. I'll remember. I'm not going to go because we follow.
You can say whatever you need to.
I know. There was this one lady. She would come in. This is a crazy story. So she would come in, and she loved to get catheterized. She was 99 years old.
What?
And she loved to get catheterized. It gets worse. So after she was catheterized, she would produce blue urine from her medication. But the real big thing is she would not leave until she had finished masturbating. I shit you not. She would open the door and she would be like, I'm not done yet. She was an awful lady. She was so mean. She was the meanest lady in the world. And I will remember her name until the day I die. And I'm not going to say her name because she's going to come back from the grave.
Don't
and get
say
me.
it from now on. Don't say anybody's name. That's medical related.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not.
And don't say last names for anybody we're talking about.
Oh man, I already said somebody's last name.
It's okay. We've said a couple, but it's innocuous. It's okay.
Okay.
But yeah, holy crap, that is ridiculous.
Oh yeah. There was a male guy too. He liked the same thing, and we caught wind of that, and so I started doing his catheters, and I wasn't nice. I wasn't nice at all. I would grab that thing and I just shove that tube down his
urethra.
Oh yeah, and
Eureka.
He didn't like that too much, so he stopped coming in for that. But then he started putting pencils and pens into his urethra, and they would break.
Wait. What
Yep.
did you just say?
Yep. I still have on my. I still have a solid picture of some very older gentleman who came in
older
for
people that do this.
It's all shapes and sizes, but the age was kind of disconcerting because this sweet old man was in there, right? And he came in for a bellyache, and turns out he had a giant flashlight shoved all the way up his butt. This thing was massive. I said the flashlight was like this big. I shit you not. Like just no pun intended. But yeah, it was a big old flashlight.
Wait, so how does that go all the way up? Like, doesn't things curve?
Practice.
Oh
yeah.
Lube?
Oh, I would hope so, for God's sake. But
how did he not die?
But he didn't
bleeding.
rupture anything. The only thing that was hurting his stomach was because he was constipated because he couldn't get the flashlight out and had to be surgically removed. What if you guys don't know, and if you're into butt play, the butt is a suction device in a sense. Like if things go up, the muscles will contract inward and it'll actually pull things in. So you'll get them to a point and you won't get them back. So please, if you're into those sort of things, use things with a stopper.
PSA
like
announcement.
A plug of some sort. If you got butt play, just use butt plugs. They're made for the subject.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they got stoppers. That's why they can stay in all day.
That makes sense. Don't put things that don't have a stopper up your anus.
They have million stores out there. Buy the stuff. I know you might feel a little guilty. They got Amazon now. Just buy off of Amazon. Do not put foreign objects
and use
into
a
your
lot
colon.
of lubrication.
Yes. Be
Look
safe.
At that. Be safe. Always be safe. Have fun, but be safe.
I'm not kink shaming at all, man. You guys can put whatever you like up there, but I'm just telling you, you're going to regret it when you got to explain it to a doctor in an emergency room, because you're not going to surprise them, but you were feeling bashful for going into a sex store because you didn't want them to know that you like butt stuff.
Remember the camera's that way, Mark.
Oh, my bad. I forgot we were on camera.
I know, you've been looking over there the whole time.
I know. That DZ picture is awesome. But anyway.
We'll talk about that in a second.
You got to remember that you're going to have to explain it to the ER doctor later.
Dude, the more you tell these stories, the more I go, you're barely probably going through the tip of the iceberg here.
Oh, I mean,
and you did 11 years.
Yeah, we don't have
enough
time in the day.
A medical professional for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Like, no wonder why they're so meek and quiet in their old age. They're just haunted.
Would
you like a lollipop?
Yeah, no shit.
Whoa.
I've seen one of these in a butthole.
Tell your mother I said hello. Well, remember, eat an apple. You're just like, oh, you've lost it.
Yeah.
You've seen everything.
They're just on scripts now. That's all it is.
Out of all the doctors in a hospital, who sees the craziest stuff? An ER doctor, probably. I
don't want to cut anybody short because, God, general practitioner doctors probably see just as bad as ER. Because they got to deal with you all fucking time. You know,
everything.
All your ailments.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah,
I don't have it,
but ER doctors get the the blunt of the storm because they're seeing it at the worst times. You know,
Right,
Like,
and-
that's
yeah.
emergency medicine is like the worst day of your life kind of thing. That's what you're dealing
Yeah,
with.
that's why I don't like going.
Yeah,
I always try to go at like 2, 3 a.m. That's my
Yeah.
favorite time to go. If I can't, if I break a bone, I'll just wait a couple hours.
that's it.
It just so happens most of the times I've gone have been 2, 3 a.m. and it's been easy. Like you wait 10 minutes and they get you because no one's really there. I've never gone. I've gone during the day once or twice, but my God, I'm grateful hospitals exist, but I try not to ever be in them.
Yeah, that's the idea.
I had a family member whose name shall be not said, who had like his heart stopped on a golf course,
Oh yeah,
and his friend did CPR on him until
saved his life.
the ambulance came. And I don't know if it was a helicopter or an ambulance came, and they continued until a helicopter came and took them to a hospital. And then they cooled their body down.
Yeah,
And I think he was in a coma for 3 days.
Yeah.
And then just woke up. They pulled the tube out, and he was just fine.
yeah.
Just fine. And it was just like a crazy freak accident.
Those
But the CPR that went from on the green of the golf course through the transportation all the way to the hospital kept them alive. They just kept doing the process.
Yeah, I mean that's what I said. So if it starts from the beginning, you got a lot less, and you're young and stuff like that. It really kind of makes that process possible.
Yeah.
But if you're old, you're already fighting against the time. You know, like
Yeah.
all those little things come into play, and that's where like where it comes like good training and stuff like that, and not getting complacent, and just doing the job. It takes
So like
it
being
takes
in
a
good
village.
health helps with just surviving those things.
For sure, but that's not always the case too. Because I mean, you could be in great health, but nobody's around. You don't have that friend
Right.
who knew how to do CPR.
Right.
As my grandpa always said, healthy people are going to be mad when they're dying from nothing. It's just those luck of the card.
But
it's
on
just the luck of
average,
the
I'm
draw.
sure
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
seen
sure.
less healthier people in the hospital.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, why not? I mean, of course.
So my problem with the Lagrange and stuff like that. Well, I guess yeah.
Can you hand
in
me
general.
another beer, please?
Yeah, I'm gonna grab one myself.
Yeah. Man, Mark, these blow my mind over here.
Yeah,
Freaking
well,
me out, making me laugh, making me cry.
That's it, man.
You're doing everything. Like how you usually do.
That's it, man. That's my life. Smiles and cries. Smiles and
Yeah,
cries.
I'd say so. These stories are ridiculous.
That's also a quote from Training Day, right? That's how he understands the
can't
streets.
Get this lime in here. I'm really bad at things when it comes to alcohol. Why
Yeah,
am-
man. I remember the days when you didn't touch the stuff. You were
Oh, yeah.
you were a church mouse, man.
Oh,
Didn't touch
yeah.
anything.
Nothing.
God.
I still don't drink enough.
You're more of my you lean on more of my side too with the whiskey. I was gonna bring
that'd
some
be nice.
Eagle Rare, and I forgot it at home.
Next
So,
time,
Yeah.
we'll do these forever. I realized, like, I have all the gear. I can kind of just do this for the rest of my life. So
Yeah, that's the idea.
I plan on having people back whenever.
I really enjoyed doing Friends with Music. The other I forgot I had been on a podcast before.
Yeah. 9
That was
years ago, we
way
started
back.
that.
We ended up just talking about video games.
Yeah,
It
man.
was supposed to be about music. I mean, there was a little bit, but
That's where
we just digressed.
that's where a podcast can go, though.
Yeah.
That's why I like this one, because there's no like general theme. It's just
Yeah.
like life, just talking about what the person has done. It doesn't matter who they are.
That was
Just anything.
That was the cool thing. Everybody was asking me, so what's the topic going to be on? I was like, I don't know. I'm not that interesting, I guess. But
But like you are though, like
yeah.
that. What you've done, I don't have any. I have a lot of friends, and no one I know does what you have done,
Yeah.
and has the stories you have. Especially like what you learn about people, and I'm sure you've learned this time and time again with your life. Not only are you not defined by like your career, your education, your ethnicity, your skin color, your religion, the way you identify, your sexual orientation, but it's just like the random experiences.
True.
Like what you first brought up is the heaviest thing I've heard about you, and I know it is about your sister. Like that is real stuff that happens, and that's nothing you did, nothing anybody else did. It just happened, and it's a huge impact on your life, and it's changed it forever. And that has nothing to do with work or the school you went to or the color of your skin. People pass away because of reasons and for no good reason across the spectrum of their whole life, from birth, stillborn, all the way to living to 120.
yeah.
And there's no rhyme or reason sometimes. And that is something you experience. I haven't. Most people have not. I know very few people who have siblings that passed away, let alone at a young age. So that's a whole nother thing that makes you who you are, and whether you know it or not, has to play a role in your ability to communicate with people, to take on that type of profession for so long, to be able to empathize with people in a way that most people can't. That's very important, and I think that's probably a part of it. Makes you who you are, and you'll never know because you've only lived this life.
Exactly.
That's all you know.
Exactly.
It's
so
normal to you.
I always refer to it as like, the kid down the street, and you may be the kid down the street who had the pool, right? And you think to yourself, like, man, if I had a pool, I'd be in there all the time. But that kid down the street never wants to go in his pool because he's had it all his life.
Yeah.
It's the same concept. I mean, it's just like, you just don't think about these things because they're just been your life. You you just do them. You just do them because this is what you do. And there was I had a plan to move on to something else on that, but I lost my train of thought. Well, what was I gonna say? Pooh. I try so hard not to interrupt people, and I feel like sometimes when I interrupt people, it's because they think all I care about is what I. But it's like you hit a nail on something, and it's like, oh, I got something to say to that. I got it, and I'm just like, I gotta remember, and then by the time we're done, it's just like, fuck, I forgot what we were gonna talk about.
While you're thinking about it, I can ask you a different question.
Sure, why not? We'll just keep rolling through. Is there? So we've been putting away these beers. Is there a do I pee in a funnel or something under the table? Yeah,
you can go in the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
I'll just keep talking.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll be right
I'll
back.
just tell stories about you.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
Enjoy, guys.
Yeah. So Mark Hainey over here, met him back probably. I had to have been 15. He was 16, and we became friends also through other friends that I have. And he started coming around the house more, and pretty much when I started building the DZ, which is why I put that photo up here, because he's one of the, fundamental people in helping with that, especially back in like 2006 and 7 when he started hanging out. He would help with stuff. He'd bring wood, tools. He worked at Menards, so he'd help out with that type of stuff. And he was just always around, always offering, very kind. And he's been around for like every DZ Fest, helping set up for it, building stuff. He was always the door person for, 9 years. He was the door person for DZ Fest and for the shows we've had here. So he's always been a crucial part in the growth of everything. So I'm very grateful for it. But yeah, he probably remembers that photo very well. And I guess I could talk about this photo while he's gone. So this photo is from July 2009, for those who could kind of see it on camera. It's a really beautiful picture of the DZ taken by a friend of mine, Ashley Esposito. And she was a student at Columbia College, Chicago, and I think was doing a photography class in the summer, and used the DZ as her focal point of the project. And it's really beautiful because it was taken with a really great camera that did film photography or film photos, and it's a really nice photo. I mean, it's got to be a good 12 by 18. And it's just really nice, well printed, beautiful. It's probably the best it's ever looked. That's in the heyday. I mean, that's 12 years ago when everything was just nice and straight. It's before, I think, the very back room, before the side porch, before everything started falling apart. And that image of it is kind of how I see it in my mind. That's like how I remember it. Is like
I have to disagree. I had taken hand in painting that top portion of the DZ with the founding fathers, as I once called it, which was
funny. What do you disagree with?
Well, that this was its best view. The picture is fantastic.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And I'm just saying the art on it was.
So what you're saying is underneath where it says DZ,
correct,
in red and there's white.
Yeah, there was
4 faces.
Yeah,
kind of like
it was Adam. Remember Adam? And it was Chris, you, and then I think that was it. There's
Jake,
3 of
you. Eddie, Jake, you?
No, I think there was just 3, but there
was
big
4.
Heads. Were there 4?
There was 4.
I want to say there was 4 too, but I can't remember who else was there.
It had to have been Jake or Eddie or you.
You're the only one that really kind of stood out because you got that big ass hair,
the curls, yeah.
And Chris looked really good.
I remember that.
And then Adam was just a fat face.
Yeah, I remember that. So, Yeah, that brings me back. But she took a bunch of cool photos. I have a bunch. I have like 20 of them. But this one is like the centerpiece. And
Like
I'm just glad that it's
dish.
like a legitimate, well-made and crafted
Oh yeah,
photo.
that was before the wraparound porch too.
Everything, yeah. And it's really straight. But
Which
this,
I would like to say that was my idea.
yeah, thank you for that one. Okay. I remember building that with my broken wrist from the longboarding accident. But this photo, I believe, was developed like in a professional darkroom at Columbia. So like this is a legit color photo,
the sun
custom
couldn't
developed.
Have been any better.
It's
like
perfect.
It looks like the heavens are like raining upon the DZ.
I wish I framed it sooner. I only framed that like 7 months ago.
I didn't
So it's
even know
just been
this
sitting
picture
for 12
existed.
years, and it's in decent shape, but I wish I took care of it. But you know, life happens. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool, and we're taking it down this summer, which is crazy. 16 years it'll have been up.
It stimulated my my need. I've been talking about it for years to get a DZ tattoo, and now finally it's going to happen.
You'll be able to show it.
Yeah.
At the takedown.
You know, everybody will be like, "What's that on your arm?" It's like, don't worry about it.
I think you might be the 6th person,
Yeah.
which is crazy. That 6 people have tattoos of it.
Well,
something about it, you know.
The one thing that I don't know if you touched base on, and I wanted to say was the DZ. I remember people being like, you know, I don't want to go around there because, you know, I don't know anybody there. But it was like, this is the one place, and I know I'm probably speaking just like everybody else, but this is the one place that everybody just, it didn't matter who you were, what creed, what sexuality, what color, anything. It was just like you came over and you hung out. The only person that stood out was the guy that sit in the corner and didn't say anything to anybody else. You just come over and be yourself. There's been multiple occasions where people we met for the first day somehow ended up naked by the end of it because we had that atmosphere.
Wait. You have to specify that. That sounded terrible.
I know. So it wasn't some brothel here, but it was just young guys out there.
Mostly guys.
Just
being goofy.
Being goofy.
Let's preface this.
We played a game.
We were all kids.
Yeah, and it was
like
all
stupid.
Consensual.
Yeah, we're being goofy.
There was no older
Oh, no. The lights go off and people start acting goofy. Like as far as like we're listening to music.
So what I'm saying is like
out of context it's so hard to explain.
For sure. So, dip pantsings happened. When it rained at the DZ, you would 9 times out of 10 see a bunch of, teenage boys running around the backyard, butt ass naked.
I'm not naked in boxers. I'd be my boxers. I never got naked.
There were at least 1 or 2 of them naked.
Well, there's always one, and we know who they are, and they shall go unnamed. But
that's
because some people probably belong in a nudist colony and they don't want to admit it.
True, but it was a
joke. It was all fun.
More where I'm going from is we'll get off the topic of naked.
How about this? To put it into people's minds, it was very jackassy or
for sure.
CKYE as far as people just doing weird, goofy stuff for fun. That's where I can get to it.
Where I'm trying to get at is it was a place to where you could throw away all of your fears and all of your self-consciousness because everybody was equal at this place. It was just a wholesome ass place. It was guarded from any of the bigotry and the hate that you see. There was only a few occurrences where there was a fight here, and it 9 times out of 10 was some random person who didn't belong at the DZ anyways, just didn't have that energy, didn't have that vibe, and they came over and they corrupted it for a minute. But it never really kind of penetrated our atmosphere. They stood out like a sore thumb in that aspect, So what I'm saying is like bringing new people into the fold was never hard because everybody was super accepting. It was a wooden house full of artists in any art form that you had. And, you may not felt like you had a place somewhere, but at the DZ, you were something that you may not have known you were. You had a point, even if you were the self-conscious one. There's a couple of the guys here. I talk about being naked and stuff like that. There's a couple of the guys here I've never even seen their ankles, man. They wore pants and long sleeve shirts their entire time I've known them.
Yeah,
and and saying that, I know the DZ boys. They'll know exactly who I'm talking about, and we've just had. I feel so lucky to have grown up with a group of friends that I've carried on forever, to the point to where I want to get a tattoo for them. It's not so much the DZ, but it's the idea behind it. It's like our youth, everything that was done at the DZ, and if it was worth doing.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I agree. And a few friends are just kind of like sad about it. Like, I don't want to, like, why are we taking it down? And I'm like, I'm proud. Like, it is not gone. It's not dead. Like, this really fun clubhouse where it was full of creative people who were black sheeps, outcasts, weird, grew here. And there's art all over it. And there was never not music playing. There was movies playing, music, people talking, philosophical thoughts, poetry on the walls, dumb stuff on the walls, fun stuff on the walls, comedy, love, art, food all the time, every birthday party, every event, bonfires every night. It was great. It was fun. And it just turned into this house. It turned into this podcast. It turned into a music festival. It turned into a recording studio. It just turned into new things. I always say, like, this house is just a better version of the DC.
That's what I'm going to say. For all the naysayers, I mean, if you come into this house here, we're living in the DZ. Yeah. The door is never locked. Yeah. You can walk in. I mean, it's locked.
The door's locked.
But I'm just saying,
actually lock it now.
if somebody's home, 9 times out of 10, the door's never locked.
You'll be greeted by a 120-pound dog.
But not only that, though, but it's just like, you don't have to, like, hey, can I come over? What are you guys doing? You just show up. I remember, I to this day, I showed up Christmas Day. It was late. I was told to come over and hang out. I walked in the door and I was like, "What's up, fuckers?" Walk up the stairs, and it's Ben's entire, like, immediate family just staring at me like, "Oh shit!" Like,
but they all laughed. Like, "What's up, Mark?"
And it may not sound that funny. It sounds funny, but these people were not about, like, swear words and stuff like that. They were pretty, like, tight about stuff like that.
My mom found it funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was dying when you did that. I was like, did he just do that on Christmas?
Yeah. Just needless to say, I was always the man with the foot in his mouth. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's manifested into what it was, but just, like, amplified by 1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's it.
There's more possibilities now. I mean, back then, we made that out of necessity, a place to hang out, a place that we needed. And how we got the products.
I didn't fit in anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that was the only place I fit in. And I was like, I literally don't know how to be.
You created your own atmosphere.
Yeah. And it attracted people in the same realm. And some of the people were great artists and great friends and good people. And some of them, it attracts artists who have unstable minds, people with mental illness, because a lot of people with mental illness don't fit in anywhere. So when you find a place you fit in, you make that your home, and that it turns into other things,
For sure. And it was awesome growing up as, like, a single young male and having, girlfriends and whatnot, and having a place to be like, yo, let me take you to this place. It's awesome. It's called the DZ. And they're like, this is not good. This is how horror stories start, like, no, like just believe me, it's gonna. And then they come and they have a great, great time and everything like that. And it was just like, it was a cool place to have a party. It wasn't, it was almost like a legal house party, and
they weren't even traditional parties either.
No, yeah, we just.
That's like what. All right, let me paint a picture of, like, it's 2010. This is our
70s
party.
Show around the table. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't even allow smoking inside.
No, that's what I mean.
That's why it makes it
I
even.
forget about they smoked weed.
That's the thing. People look at that and they go, "Oh, you guys must have done this, and that." It's like, actually, I didn't allow smoking.
Yeah.
If people drank, which I didn't drink, so people drank, they threw it out, and I took care of it. We would go and get pizza. We'd go get donuts from Dunkin' Donuts. We always knew someone. We had a lot of friends, so, like, we'd get hooked up, go get the donuts from Dunkin' Donuts. We'd come with a bag of free donuts.
Oh, yeah, we had people
Go to Danico's and get pizza. S'mores, bonfires, music, conversations.
Wholesome fun.
Yeah, it wasn't like nitty. I was cleaning it every day. I vacuumed it. I cleaned out the webs. It was always spotless. Had a mini fridge full of sodas in it. It was like the opposite of what you would actually do in there.
Ben was dad.
I was the dad. I was pretty strict.
The best part of my experience at a DZ was making Ben yell. He would just be yelling. I remember these Batman lights they used to have, and we would toss them down from the top bunk of the DZ, and me and Joe up there would be, and you'd hear, Mark, Bad Joe, Jay.
Why? I've been tortured. Nothing stopped. It's been the same.
Fuck Ben has been a statement just echoed through this entire house, this entire DZ. Fuck Ben is written probably like 1,000 times in the DZ.
Yeah, it is. I don't know why. I was just trying to help.
Because fuck Ben. I got to say it.
I know. It took me a
That's
long...
because Ben is an evil, anal man, and never play a game with this man that he makes up. I remember that game that
I didn't make
we
it
played
up.
at Diana Mendez's house. Oh, God damn, I'm using last names again. We played at Diana's house. I've always called you just certain people. You just use their full name, like
all
Jake
right.
and all them.
It's not a negative way. It's all good.
But we were playing at her house, and he's trying to teach us this game, and he just keeps fucking winning. And it's like this is Ben always wins.
They
That was the
literally
game.
called the game "Ben Always Wins."
Yeah.
Even though what
I'll
happened?
never play that fucking game again
What happened with that game is what happens with all games.
because Ben half-assed teaching.
I would show the game, but you guys would be yapping the whole time, so you wouldn't actually learn the rules. So when one person knows the rules,
But not
and the
Ben.
other three don't, who do you think's going to keep winning? The person who knows the rules. That's all that happened.
All I'm gonna say is, but not Ben. That's all it is, man.
Yeah, we had some good times back there.
Amazing.
It was ridiculous. I can't wait to.
Tear it down.
No, I mean I wish it still looked like that. If it
No
looked like that,
shit,
I
man.
would not tear it down. But
it looks
it's
like,
just
oh man,
ever since
it is the definition of our youth, man.
Yeah.
It is just
it's gone.
just
It's in the past,
dilapidated as hell. It's sinking. It's
as it should be, though.
It
Like
probably has some like just mold that would
Oh.
choke out somebody who has asthma.
it's not good in there.
It
It's
is
sketchy.
just bad.
There's
bad.
there's some things going on. Fungus among us. I'll tell you that.
Some creatures have been mating in
Oh,
there.
yeah, lots of
There's probably been a
raccoons,
soup kitchen or two
squirrels.
in there from the hobos. Who knows?
It's but there was a time. There was a good 10 years. We hung out there from 2005 to 15.
Yeah.
In 2015,
I
I
just-
started. Everyone moved into the home, in the house. So
Trying to remember the last day that I was in there.
was it New Year's Eve 2014 to 15?
It could have been.
That was the last party we had there.
It had to be then.
That was I have a fireplace
Yeah.
in there that I built out
Yeah,
of
yeah.
brick. So we'd have gatherings, events. I
How
say
we all didn't die of carbon monoxide poisoning is a blessing.
well,
I'm
we
just
had a
gonna
good
say.
exhaust out of that coming out of there.
Everything that was made in this house was made by people who, like, we didn't have like a contractor come in and build this.
I'm not a
thing.
professional.
Exactly.
I just winged it.
Well, we can tell you're not a professional, but
yeah, I was 15. What do you want from me?
the cabin behind the DZ though, that's a
Way
work
better.
of art.
That's way
And
better.
I'm so glad to have had a
Yeah,
hand in
you helped with
building
the
that.
shingles.
Yeah.
That one's way better. Way better. I love that place. I just love it because the DZ's filled with artwork and still is. And I've always been that way, like the basement is. And now this whole house is, this room is. Like, it's just everywhere. And it's from friends, acquaintances, and people who are inspired to, like, bring that stuff. Even this photo is from someone who was inspired to use it as a school project. And they made this photo is from a series that they used to make for a final project for a class at Columbia. And, that's been the case for a lot of people. People have used the DZ for speeches for, college courses and essays and art projects.
There's been documentaries and everything like that.
A lot of stuff.
I just
which
want to
we're
say,
making one for when we take it down.
I would love for anybody who's listening to this, and I really appreciate you listening to my banter. I would love you to put that in the comments that when you if it was your first time to the DZ and you were like, fuck that place. Because I've never met anybody with a negative, like any sort of a negative anything when they came from here. I mean,
Yeah.
even in the intimate shows, even if I had to turn you away because you're a cheap bastard and didn't want to pay your $10. It's so funny, like being the doorman and it was a staple because like people just knew who I was, even if I knew you for years. Like, shake your hand as soon as you walked up, $10.
Yeah.
It didn't matter who the fuck you were. Doesn't matter. $10. All right. Once the 10's in my hand, oh, what's up, man? How are you? It's like, no, man. Money first. And then like I would love to get into arguments with like the older crowd. Like, well, why am I paying $10 for this? I was like, please give me any kind of like atmosphere that you can go and have music, food, art, all of that, and not pay a dime for it.
Yeah. Pure
Please,
entertainment.
Please just explain that to me. And if you don't like it, go sit on the fucking street and listen for free. That's where the no money sits, all right? Go pull up a lawn chair, sit right on the street because you know what? That's public property. Go the fuck ahead, man. He's like, well, technically it said donations. It's a referred donation, you prick. It's because we can't charge you.
Yeah. Well, I'll
like,
say one.
What, do you think this happens for free?
I appreciate that. And yeah, you helped a lot because
nobody else at the DZ had balls to say no.
No, nobody would have the balls to do that. And you helped. What you did is you didn't necessarily help me. You helped the bands because I gave all that money to the bands. Like, I bought water and beer.
Yeah.
And then all that money I would just give to the bands, and do a video. Like, that's how I got bands to play. It's like, you'll get whatever the door is and then a video and some water and beer,
like, I think, honestly, some of these people think they come in here and it's like, oh, there must be some kind of benefactor, like some rich dude just took over this house and is just giving Ben all this stuff. It's like, no, you dumb bastard. Ben is struggling to, like, make this happen. This is essentially, at the moment, this is a fucking hobby.
Yeah.
Like, this is a hobby. He's trying to create some sort of thing. And I think, honestly, we rode DZ out to the point to where it just couldn't get any further. It hit that apex. I mean, I know you may say, I feel like personally, like, where do you go from here besides taking it to making it like an actual, like, legitimate, getting sponsorships and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. We turned
you're hitting the nail on the head. So.
We turned a backyard into a place where I think the one time I counted, it was like over 1,500 people in a backyard in Hickory Hills. We almost got shut down by the police. Ben had to go in and they had pictures of Charlie crowd surfing and the food. And we had a petition in like 3 minutes of like 500 people to sign. I remember that day. It was almost as bad as the day that we came to DZ Fest and it rained. And all of our hard work with all the tarps was just ripped apart. And we were all just sitting there like just defeated as fuck.
Yeah.
Dude, that day that the cop came, he was almost crying to let us know that we can't run this.
Yeah. The two cops that came did not want to tell me that I couldn't do it. Luckily, I didn't give up. And our friends didn't. And I went with the neighbors. And just all we had to do is have a conversation and just have an understanding of like what's going on. I think they were just kind of confused. I don't blame them.
Yeah, well,
this doesn't normally happen.
Exactly.
So like they were just like, what is going on?
When I try to explain this to people, like, hey, you should come to DZ Fest, they're like, this is probably like a crackhead fest, like a bunch of hippies trying to do like what is that? What was that big fest?
Out in the desert?
No.
Lollapalooza?
No, back in like the 60s.
Woodstock.
Woodstock.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it was.
Yeah,
I mean, like, it's just...
That's what my parents call it.
It is Woodstock. I mean, there was a point to where Jason was playing the sitar. We had a sitar. Like, who's got a sitar at a music festival? Like,
I'm excited for this year.
People are like, yeah, that's cool. I have no idea what the fuck he's playing. He's sitting there... So the funny thing about that sitar, so like inside joke between me and Jason for the longest time, I used to call the instrument the sitting retard. And I didn't mean it as like he's a retard. I just meant like because he called it the sitar. And then as a young man, I was like, oh, that kind of sounds retard.
Mark, you know that word's not supposed to be used anymore.
I know. That's why I'm trying to explain because I had an altercation on Facebook about Jason playing that thing. And I was like, look at Jason, the sitting retard.
Oh, my God.
He's playing the sitting retard. And everybody just gave me such negative.
Well, what do you expect?
It's an inside joke.
Inside jokes. It's not inside anymore when it's on Facebook.
It was on Jason's Facebook.
Yeah, but that's a public forum.
I don't have a filter.
I've noticed.
I'm just trying to say that it was a joke back in the day, and I fucked myself up, man. I was such on a prestigious level there. Oh, look at this guy. He has inner demons. He worked as a medicine. Now he said retard. He's fucked.
What? Oh my God! All right,
I won't say the word anymore.
What you do now is you're on a good path by saying I won't say anymore, and you acknowledge that.
It wasn't a thing that I said in a demeanor that would be considered. It was just a play on words. That's all it was. I know I'm fucking terrible. I had to get a little comedy into this, right?
Oh my God.
Oh man, somebody's gonna get triggered. This is bad. I'm sorry. Sorry everyone. This is not what I meant to do. Hopefully Ben will edit this. Sometimes I forget where I'm at. Like I said, no filter, right? There's got to be something in that.
You made me cry emotionally
And made you cringe.
from a really heavy story, and then you made me cry from laughter. So you hit me on both sides.
That's it, man. Full of a emotional roller coaster here.
You
So all I'm saying is I didn't mean anything by it. It was just it was a joke at one time, and it was in poor taste.
yeah, an old joke.
An old joke, very old.
But that's the thing. Like, there's so many words that people grew up using.
Yeah. Like my grandparents.
Yeah.
Mongoloid was one of the words that my grandma used to
Oh,
call.
really?
Well, because my aunt, she had special needs, and she would refer to my aunt sometimes as a mongoloid, and I was like, I don't think you could say that, Grandma. It's like, no, that's just what she is. You know, it's like that like took the place of, you know, like then, you know, special needs is now like what we need, or, you know, like you're special is sometimes
Intellectually
even considered, you know, like you can use, exactly. I mean, I'm not keeping up with the format, and I'm not trying to, you know,
be insensitive.
Yeah, insensitive at all.
I mean, you're not.
I wasn't calling Jason that word. I was just saying that.
Yeah.
It sounded like that. And it was funny at the time with a group of guys. Again, we're just a bunch of guys just talking nonsense,
Being stupid.
So,
Yeah.
God damn it.
Where are we? Well, I think where we are is many beers in.
Yeah, that's my problem. Whew. We've been cruising on this one, huh?
Yeah.
What time do we start?
Like 2 hours and 15 minutes ago.
How long do you usually push this thing on?
I don't know. It just depends.
When do you drop? When do you get the? When does somebody come in here with a hook and drag me the fuck out of here?
I've done an hour and I've done 4 hours. So like
we can go out with the R word. You know what I'm saying?
I do between 1 and 4 hours.
Oh, one and 4. You have a appeal here for 4 hours?
I've had 2 or 3 at 4.
Hot damn.
Yeah.
You know, my problem with this podcast is I love listening to it, but it usually is in a car ride, and I haven't been on a 4-hour car ride in a little while, and that's...
We could break up in sections.
You know, Larry's podcast killed me, man. It killed me. John Tills was awesome, and then the 2 other ladies, I can't remember their names, but...
Jen Kressel?
Yeah, Jen Kressel was great.
Metal worker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were... Man, I was killing it. It was great listens, and I think it's something that's needed. The one-on-one podcasts are a lot better than the multi... Now, granted... When you're sitting around a table and there's a bunch of people there, it's fun for the people that are involved. But sometimes when you're listening, you're just
it's
like,
too much.
Get to the goddamn topic.
Yeah, it's too much. I'm a big fan of one-on-one. 2 is max, but one-on-one is my favorite.
Because when you guys were talking about it, weren't you talking about like doing like you, Dill, and somebody else?
Yeah. We tried that once. Halloween night. The problem is we all got really drunk.
Yeah.
And really high. Here. In this room, and there was 5 of us. It was a hot mess. I have the one recording of it, and I'm like, this has never seen the light of day. It's like 3 hours of 5
nonsense.
high drunk people just saying some crazy stuff, like crazy stuff.
Yeah,
it was great. I loved it, but I was like, and we were calling it anything goes, and it really anything went. And I was like, this is too much. Like, people are gonna like
the world is not ready for this.
Well, we're not ready for this, and
Sober
it was just
me.
too much. There was just so much going on with 5 people. You have to know a balance, and it was just really hard to do. And when you involve, you know, drugs and alcohol, it's like, you don't pay attention. I mean, even right now,
I say drugs for marijuana is a bit of a.
I'm just saying anything that changes.
Like my mind doesn't go to
brain.
drugs. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, nothing crazy. We're just doing weed, smoking weed.
It's where it starts, Ben.
I know.
It's the gateway.
Taking the edibles.
I still remember, man. You know, going back to like drugs, though. You know, we had that situation here in the DZ that kind of changed my atmosphere of drugs and stuff like that. Had watched a situation unfold right in front of our eyes, and that kind of really, I would go into context. I mean, I would go more deep into what I'm saying, but it would draw attention to somebody that I'm not trying to do that. I'm just saying that there had been life-changing moments in the DZ is where I'm getting at that it started with just that, just like I'm saying, the gateway, like, oh, here, do this, sell this and you'll make some money. And then it turned into, no longer having that, a certain person in your life. And it's pretty insane that those situations happen. And, if you don't pay attention to those situations in your life and you let those go by, you don't learn what you need to learn. It's really hard to talk into context and these sorts of things. Like, it's so much easier just using full names.
I know who you're talking about, and I know what you're saying.
I know. I just feel bad for the listeners.
No, I mean, we're talking about a friend we used to have that just. There's been many friends. That's the thing, is I've lost many friends to drugs and alcohol. Either like literally they passed away from overdoses, or I lost them, figuratively speaking. Like, just I can't be friends with them anymore.
Yeah, it's impossible.
It went down to a dark place where you're like, I can't be around you. I'm scared. You scare me.
Not only that, is like you can't trust them.
I don't trust you with anything. Like, I literally have zero trust for you. I tried and I tried for too long. Most people would not have tried as long. So you're absolutely right. And it's something I'm very aware of. Those types of circumstances I learned a lot from for mental health, emotional health, alcohol, drugs. I try to treat every time I drink for a reason, a celebration, an event, not just to just do it. So like having an old friend come in to talk for hours, like how we have been, have a couple beers.
It definitely loosens up the process a little bit.
It's the context of it. I don't do this every day.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sitting around by myself just drinking. Like, that's how I treat alcohol. It's how I treat marijuana. It's how I treat mushrooms. I do those are the only three things I do. And I treat them very sacred to me. It's very important. After what I've seen and the people I've lost, again, their lives taken by themselves, or they've just lost it completely and I can't be around them anymore. Like, I take it very seriously.
Well, see, the things that I step into, so like with drugs and stuff like that, even marijuana, they start to open doors that I deliberately closed for a reason. And I don't want to open those doors again. There's a reason I closed them in my brain. And I speak of that like I can control it, but there's a reason there's guards up there. And I know by experience that certain drugs, like mushrooms, as you say, is like like sacred to you. But I know those things can, if you have, like a week, or if you have damage to your psyche, those can open a door to where you never come back and be the same person again. It's kind of like going through post-traumatic stress. It throws you into that moment where you may not have been a schizophrenic person, and now all of a sudden it's called drug-related psychosis. It's it opens a door that, and I use doors because you enter and you but it opens those aspects. And I personally have had a situation where that has happened to a family member of mine who opened a door using acid, and it kind of changed that person forever.
For the worse?
Oh, I wouldn't call it for the worst, but in the moment, and in the start of it, I would say it's the worst. But now what you can do is dial back and be like, well, now this is a learning experience, because that life isn't open or isn't lost. Like with life, if say he died to it, that's it. That could be the worst. But with life, there's possibilities, and with life, there's more to come. You know what I'm saying? So the story isn't done. The story isn't written. The next chapter can easily change, and that's something to look forward to. At least at some point they saw their situation, they stopped their situation and moved on. But I'm not saying that all drugs are bad. I mean, I think what I'm going to do is when I turn like 80, 90 years old, I'm just going to jump on the train and do all the psychedelics I can, because why the fuck not, Yeah,
you haven't tried any?
No, I've never done any of those. I've never done anything mind altering besides marijuana a couple of times.
Okay.
Marijuana fucks with my anxiety.
Yeah.
Similar to like for myself, I have a really sensitivity to a strong sensitivity to caffeine, so I don't consume caffeine at all. Marijuana is the same thing. It just fucks with my brain.
No mushrooms, no acid.
No, nothing like that. I'm saving that for the elderly, man.
I think you'd love mushrooms.
Just cruise
They're a
out.
fun one. They are my favorite thing to do in the world as far as drugs.
I can imagine.
And I mean,
No, I
that
can't,
only didn't
but-
happen until I was 28.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like I said, you were.
Very late. But I'm glad, though. I'm so grateful that it's something I started trying later after I experienced enough. My brain developed, my body developed. I know who I was.
Watching you grow up, Ben, it's been an honor, man. Because I've been the oldest one in the DZ. I think pretty much. I don't think there's anybody
Jake,
older.
Eddie.
Well, I'm older than all of them.
Oh, I thought
I'm
you meant
the
like hanging out
oldest.
the longest.
I'm the oldest
Yeah.
of all you guys. So, well, only by like what?
You're older than me
2
by
years.
like exactly 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year.
Because you're December 28th, 29th?
29th.
29th, and I'm December 14th. But
Oh,
you're
yeah.
88, I'm 89. So
Oh, okay.
We
I
have-
always thought I was 2 years older than you. But anyway, it's great to see you grow into this person that's comfortable with themselves in that manner. And, like, because you were so against it when we were kids, man.
yeah.
So against it.
Yeah.
I remember just bringing beer over and being chastised for it. And now it's like watching you, like at a Halloween, you were like double fisting 2 beers and you had a whole thing of, whiskey. And I'm just like, who the fuck are you? And then you're,
I'm
you're
31. What do you want
you're-
from me?
You're hitting a bowl and it's like, what? Who are
So
you?
it's all legal now. and
What the fuck
I'm
is
an adult.
happening
I'm
in this
glad I
house?
waited.
Yeah, no
I'm
shit.
glad I let the brain develop a little bit,
The adolescents slip away and then the elderly.
Yeah, I think about it. I'm like, I'm glad I was hard on myself and strict because it allowed me to be in the moment and present until I figured out who I was, and then I was able to have more of like a control over it.
You didn't waste your youth either.
No, not at all.
I know a couple of people who, got into drugs early and, passed away from them,
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the one thing I never wanted to waste is, I'm here, I'm here, my sister's not. They're at, like if you believe in reasoning and, like if you want to say there's a reason to everything and everything that happens for a reason, like, well, like there's sometimes you got to question yourself, like, well, what the fuck am I here for, man?
Yeah.
Why did I get put with that fucking? why did that fall on my lap? Like,
Yeah.
I've got to prove something now. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And so that's why I've never really wasted, my time with drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I have no problem with it. I have nothing to say against it, and it's whatever to me.
moderation.
Do you, man?
Be you. Keep yourself accountable in moderation. Know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
Check yourself. That's
Check
all.
yourself. Do your life experiences from your siblings that passed away and your work you've done and all the people you've met and the places you've been from different careers, does it make you want to bring life into this world or not because of everything you've seen?
Ooh. I like the idea of children. And at the same time, I'm praying to be fucking sterile. I would love to bring somebody in here, but I realize that there's that saying that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Like you could be the best dad in the whole wide world and still end up with a kid that just fucks up. You know what I mean?
But is that the right
is that
way
a
to look at it? Because like the
that's
what
my
ifs,
problem. Is
the what
is
ifs.
That, yeah, exactly. But
can't be a what if person.
yeah, but when you know what you know.
But
it's
so
hard.
you've seen a lot, right?
True.
But so you said like maybe 500 times you do CPR, thousands of people you've seen, but there's billions of people who never been in the hospital, never needed CPR, never needed the help that you had to provide.
See,
so like you gotta, even if
So
you're
so I sorry to cut you off, but I want to remember this. You're hitting the nail on the head. So where I was going to go with this is like CPR is I may have done 500 people. I may have done CPR on 500 people, and none of the like 4 of them made it. But it's those 4 that make it all worth it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That's that change, that dice that rolled good. That and I've been brought into rooms with the patient who we brought back, and I remember this guy. I was down in the cath lab one time, and I was doing CPR on this guy, and this guy was still alive. Like, he was still essentially awake, but he wasn't perfusing. So the doctor was like, I need you to do CPR. And I was like, but he's alive. Like, he's here. And he's like, just keep doing CPR. You're doing great. I was like, all right. So I'm pushing on this man, and like the third push, I feel the snap. And I get by his ear, and I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. Because I hear him going, and I'm just beating this man's chest up. God, it must have been terrible. But when I went up and saw him, he opens up. He wanted to see me. He asked to see me. And he opens up his gown as soon as I walk in. He's like, this is why I'm still alive. And he's got this massive fucking bruise on his chest. And, you know, like in that moment, the only thing I could think of was, and I go back to movie quotes all the time, but I don't know if anybody's seen Saving Private Ryan, where Tom Hanks whispers into Matt Damon's ear when he's asking, you know, like, why'd you do it? Or what should I do? How did I earn this? And he said, you know, earn it. That was the thing he told him. And he was at the grave, and he told his wife, he's like, was I a good man? And, you know, that's what I told that guy. I don't mean to sound like ridiculous, but in that moment, I was just like, in my head, I was doing my job. You know what I mean? That was what I was there for. And he's asking me, like, you know, all these kind of questions, like basing me off as a hero. And in my mind, I'm not a hero. I was, you know, I'm being paid to do this. This is where I'm at. You know, it'd be one thing if I ran off the street and jumped on this dude's chest and then walked away without any kind of thing. But I was there because, you know, I was getting paid. And that's the hardest thing to think about, is like, people talk about heroes, and in those people's minds, we're not heroes. I mean, we just happen to be there on the day. But I think if I could just instill in somebody to just kind of create positivity from a negative aspect. And with that statement, I'll go into another movie quote where in Fight Club, where Robert K. Hessel's on his knees, and Brad Pitt's got the gun to his head, and he goes, you know, what were you going to be when you went to college? And he was like, a veterinarian. And he goes, well, what happened? And he's like, you know, I didn't have enough time, or whatever excuse he gave. And he says, well, if you aren't on your way to becoming a veterinarian in the next month, I'm going to come over. I have your address. I'm going to come in and I'm going to kill you. And so as he lets Robert K. Hessel run off into the desert, Edward Norton's like, dude, what the fuck? What did you do that for? And he's like, tomorrow is going to be the greatest day of Robert K. Hessel's life because he's alive. And that's what I wanted to instill in this man, is like, don't look at me as some kind of a savior or some kind of a martyr or some kind of like that. I want you to focus on you. Like, you need to earn this. I was just a pawn. I was just there. I was just there as a tool, as a wrench would be to tighten a knot. But what you need to focus on is you know, like, why were you the one, besides all the other people who have died in my arms as pushing on their chest? Why were you the one that got this opportunity to go on from here? And how are you going to change the moments that transcend from, you know, go forward from this? And that's what I lived every time that I saw somebody make it. I just wanted to instill in them that this is not, you know, this isn't a miracle. This is this is an opportunity. Use it, earn it. So that's all I got to say on that topic. But yeah, that's the thing. I went on with that one.
No,
man.
that's good.
I channeled that one. That one felt good.
No, that was good. That was pretty heavy.
Yeah, and
you saved people's lives. I mean,
I did.
You were doing your job.
Lives were saved. You know, yes,
you did.
I was there.
You
but
did.
There was other people. There were other people.
Yeah, but you were the one, and
I was there.
You might have been.
I'm the one here talking about it.
Yeah, and many other people on this planet do that every day, and I think a lot of times they're underappreciated, underpaid, undervalued. I think too much money goes into hospital administrators and insurance, and it should be focused on people in the jobs that you were doing. You know, someone saving lives shouldn't be getting 20-something bucks an hour. You know, like you're doing the grunt work. You're wiping someone's butt. You're you're sticking catheters inside of people. Like you're dealing with chaos. You're dealing with mental illness. You're dealing with physical disabilities.
Underpaid, underappreciated, and super low staff.
Yeah,
Always.
And it's how I feel about everyone. I mean, nurses.
Well, to touch topic on that, I just quit my job. Yes. I was working at a manufacturing plant because, I changed careers, that lovely word. And I was working 6 days a week for 12-hour shifts, 72 hours a week, and hating every
terrible
minute of my life. So that's why I quit, because I've got to earn this too, So
what's the next step?
Who knows? Who cares? I'm enjoying just the simple aspects of everyday monotony. Like just the things that I was missing. Like I have time to cut my grass. I have time to just go out and skate. I have time to just stare at the beauty of nature,
of life.
A lot of my favorite things to do is just go outside and throw the ball with the dog. Just watching her have a ball with something so minuscule as a tennis ball.
A ball with the ball.
That's it.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
I mean, after what you have seen, I'm sure you have new ideas, new ways of looking at life that you probably want to follow different paths. Like a career change is a hard thing. It's a heavy thing, for people. I know what that feels like too. I could have just been working at UPS and now I'm not. Like,
yeah,
that was a weird thing for me to do, like a weird thing to do in my life. That was a plan, or to want to be a carpenter and to not do it, to want to be a package handler and not do it. So it was like to teach now. It's just like a completely different world. So it's a weird thing, but it doesn't happen unless you put in that effort, unless you make it. So I think the next thing you do will be pretty sweet.
Sure.
I know it will be.
My grandpa always told me something that resonated pretty well, and it comes off as callous and cold, but he said that if you have dreams, go to sleep. And then he went in to explain that there are opportunities all around, and if you're focused on one thing, a career, you fail to see the things that are just kind of dwindling on your sides. Like the reason that I know all this stuff and have done all this stuff is because I've taken those opportunities. I'm an opportunist. I saw an opportunity, take advantage of it. Just recently I quit my job. Well, the opportunity there was COVID just happened, and now there's 1 million jobs opened up because, a lot of people were out of work, things shut down, and now things are starting to come back up. Production is coming way up, so now there's this opportunity to try something new. Before it was like that job was mandatory because there was no jobs out there. Now there's 1 million jobs out there, and not a lot of people that want to try out this stuff. And so I'm taking advantage of that opportunity. Who knows what's going to happen in the near future? Who cares? Money is fleeting. Money comes, money goes, but time does not. Time is just going, and it's going at an extremely fast rate.
Do you think
it scares the life out of me?
Do you think the life you've lived and the work you've had has given you that perspective about time, life, money?
I would like to say yeah. I mean, in my own point of view, I would say, the thing that I've worked around emergency medicine, right? So I've been in a room with somebody who's dying. I've also done crime scene cleanup, so I know what happens after you die. And then my family own funeral homes, and I understand the concept of what happens what goes on in a funeral home. So I know the full spectrum of the end of life, right? I know, and then also I've been in a room where a child has been given birth. So there's the start of life. And then, of course, I've lived to 32 now, and so now I understand what it felt like to growing old and now stepping into a mature mindset, and I can feel myself getting older every day, and it's just I've seen the whole picture, and so that in its own self gives life kind of like it's almost like comedic, like you talk about careers and I've done this for 35 years and I'm going to retire, but then, you die tomorrow. And that 35 years of all that time you've worked in that anticipation of retirement was for shit, because now you're dead and all that money that you've been saving up just goes to, God forbid you didn't make a family because you were betting on retirement, and now all that money goes to the government, your sworn enemy, or it just goes to nothing. It goes to paying for all the nonsense, So
does it make you want to have kids then, so you could leave something to them?
Well, sure. I mean, like I said, we didn't really, that's what we were on.
Yeah, we kind of skipped that one.
Yeah. So so the biggest thing that comes, that's where we were going to. Yes, finally, we touched base back to where my connected thought. So what I was getting to with all of that earn it thing was, I really believe, especially the life that we're living right now with all the controversy in politics and stuff like that, is the only thing that we can do at the age that we are, me and you and Ben, me, you and everybody else that's in their 30s, is to raise good humans. I mean, to instill in them the thought processes that we carry and the learning experiences that we've had, to have them grow up. And in theory, the only way we live forever is through our kids and our children's children, because they pass on what we've taught them in theory and go on forever. So if we can just keep that going, then we have a chance to change the world. Unfortunately, where we're at 30, I don't really see the world changing for us and anything that we do physically in the moment. I could be argued, but just my point of view, I think really where it's going to come from is the youth. I mean, youth is the future. So yes, I want to have children and, raise them right, and, even have a giant backyard where they can have a clubhouse where all their friends go, and I'll just ignore what they're doing out there and pray to God they're just doing kind of what we were doing.
That's pretty rare.
Yeah, I know shit.
After meeting a lot of people, you'll, yeah.
And all their ideas of what they would have done with the house behind.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Although the name of DZ is, if anybody doesn't know this, it's Dome Zone.
It's not Dome Zone. That's what everyone's called it. I don't call it that. And
even though Dome never happened in there besides like 2 occasions, maybe.
I can't speak to that. I know that I was...
I've never received or had any sort of sexual contact in that place.
Neither have I.
Ever.
I just slept there a lot.
Usually it's just random people that show up.
Yeah, it was never... People who did like any type of fooling around in there it was never really... us. It was like random people, and per usual. They didn't get the vibe. You. They didn't get the memo that we're monks here.
Yeah,
we're monks.
This is a monastery.
I always say
bastards.
I'm a monk. I always say I'm a monk. When it came back to those days, I was like, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke,
and that's a problem. That's my fucking thought on you. And then when you're talking to me about things, I'm like, what?
Well,
I can't do this with you, Ben.
I grew up and I became an adult.
I don't.
I was a child.
I don't believe it.
It happens, but what are you gonna do?
A man-child. That's what you should still be.
On that note, shall we end this thing?
We could.
Pick it up another day?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? I think we had 2.5 hours.
I've already dropped an R-bomb. God, if I drink any more beers, who knows what other words I'm going to drop.
Yeah, 3 each. We're good.
Turn this podcast.
Although you did have one before, I think, right?
Bigotry session.
Or 2 or 3.
I had one before.
Or 8. No, 1.
Who's counting?
Mark, thank you for coming in.
No, thank you, Ben. This was an awesome. I won't lie. I was bothering Ben to come in and talk because I just wanted to just hear my own voice. That's what these headphones are doing for me.
It was fun. Your stories are very inspirational, very heavy, very real. They're from everyday stuff to stuff no one knows about. So thank you. You brought stuff to light for me, and I'm sure many people will be like, I did not know that. That's insane. That's crazy. I think you'll inspire people, or at least open up their eyes to, what really is going on in the world as far as life, death, and everything in between.
Well, that's great, man, because I was really afraid that I was going to come in here and waste everybody's time.
No, not at all. I don't think so at all.
So,
and
I really did. I tried to write some stuff down, but I was just like, "Fuck!" I'm way better at just.
I don't. You just improvise. Just talk.
That's it.
It's like we've known each other forever. What do you have to write anything down?
Yeah, I know.
No,
but
like
you hear podcasts and you're like, "Well, I should have a topic."
I mean, some do that. That's what's cool about podcasts.
It's kind of how when I bought
they
the
go
beer
everywhere.
today, you know?
Yeah,
Just
whenever
said-
I have a friend, like an old friend come in, I'm like, let's do some beer.
Well,
Why not?
Ben was like, "What beer are you gonna get? You know, what are you gonna get?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm gonna let the liquor store tell me." You know,
Yeah.
that's just kind of.
I'll drink any beer. I don't care.
I'm the same way, so
It doesn't matter. It's beer.
and that's what I was hoping this conversation would do is let the podcast tell me what I'm gonna talk about.
Yeah. No, it was great. So thank you, and thank you for everything you've ever done for this place, for that place, the
Yes, sir.
DZ Records, DZ Fest. You've been a pivotal piece of all of it, and it's been really amazing to have you as a person and as a friend, as a comrade. We've had some crazy times together over the last 16 years.
I just want to point out that if you guys focus on that D and the Z, it does say dome.
Yeah.
and
Again,
zone.
another thing I did not put up there. For
So,
those who don't
it's in
know,
writing on the wall.
most of the DZ, I would have rooms where I wanted to have like poetry on there, and everyone would draw like penises on it.
Absolutely.
So that's the
and
divide
fart
between
jokes.
my friends and I. So when I see DZ, I see literally I don't even,
Dream Zone.
I say Dream Zone, but I don't. It doesn't represent anything to me. It's just DZ. Like that's it.
Yeah, I mean that's what it.
Like
essentially-
I do enjoy like the annoying ongoing joke of just like Dome Zone. Like I've never called it that ever.
yeah, it's always been DZ.
It's always been other people that call it that. I'm like, I don't call it that. It's not. So yeah. But anyway, thank you for everything.
Absolutely. Thank you for
And
having me.
Yeah, it was great to have you.
And I thank everybody who actually listens to this. All right.
Well,
Cool beans.
love you, Mark.
Love you too, Ben. Love
Later,
you
guys. Later, guys.
I keep forgetting the cameras.